Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kaylin and today we're going to be going through your August 2026 horoscopes for all 12 zodiac signs. August is an enormous month because we've got two eclipses happening. First of all, we've got a total solar eclipse in Leo. That's in the middle of the month. And then at the end of the month, we have a partial lunar eclipse, which is to say a full moon eclipse in the sign of Pisces. So as always, this is a tropical Western astrological reading, and I highly recommend that you watch your horoscope for your big three, meaning your rising sign, your sun sign, and your moon sign. If you've only got time to watch one today, then I would begin with your rising sign horoscope. So before we get into the reading, just a kind of reminder that I'm on social media, so Instagram and Facebook. If you want to see regular astrological updates from me, the handle is the same, which is simply Kastrology. And my private one-on-one readings are available, so you can book via the link in the description box below. Without further ado, let's now get into Aries. Hi Aries, Sun, Moon and Risings. Welcome to your August 2026 horoscope. So the month starts off with Venus entering the sign of Libra. So this will be on the 6th of August, or if you're in Australia, the 7th of August. So Venus transiting Libra is a very welcome sight because Venus is at home in the sign of Libra. And for you as an Aries, having Venus go through your 7th house can improve your one-to-one relationships. So that can be with your significant other, if you are in a romantic relationship. That can be with clients, with friends. And also this can see there being a bit of a boost in negotiations, sales, and maybe getting some wins when it comes to signing contracts. Okay, so then on the 9th of August, or the 10th if you live in Australia, are you guys able to hear me? Hang on, just give me one moment. This always happens with Aries because I'm using like a streaming software, and yeah, we're in the post-shadow period for Mercury retrograde, if I can put it that way. So anyway, on the 9th of August or the 10th, if you live in Australia, we're going to see Mercury entering the sign of Leo. So for the most part, this is a very positive transit because Mercury will be trining you from the 5th house, but we do have an immediate square to Chiron in Taurus in the 2nd house. So that can bring up, I guess we could call it a clash between what brings you joy, creative projects, creative output, and then your personal values, finances, and resources. All right. So on the 11th of August, we're going to have Mars entering the sign of Cancer. So with Mars transiting your 4th house, first of all, this is your chart ruler, which means that this is where your energy and focus and attention, that's where it'll be placed for the next 7 or so weeks. So this can see you focusing on family matters, lineage, heritage, property, real estate, and you do have to guard against accidents in the home. And also this can be a time where you do experience discord with anyone that you live with. So that can be housemates, flatmates, friends, or your spouse, children, parents. Because the 4th house does rule over family, well, this is a sign where a transit, let's say, that there may be more conflict or tension within your family dynamics. Just give me one moment, guys. I have a feeling that I've got an issue with my live. Aries, so sorry for the interruption. Just had to make sure that this live was actually live. So that was the transit of Mars through Cancer in your 4th house. Now on the 12th or 13th, early hours of the 13th of August, if you're in Australia, we're going to have the total solar eclipse occurring in the sign of Leo. So I've popped that up on the screen for you. This will be occurring at 20 degrees in your 5th house. So as the sentence total solar eclipse indicates, this is going to be a very powerful eclipse. Okay, so it's a new moon eclipse, and new moon eclipses bring through something new into our lives, and that will depend on the house that it's occurring in. So for the 5th house, this represents a new chapter that's starting with respect to one or more of the following: love, romance and dating, children, creativity, your natural gifts and talents, perhaps starting your own business, an opportunity to step into a position of leadership. And for some of you, this may be getting pregnant. This may be someone new entering your life, romantically speaking, or taking things to the next level from, let's say, a more casual dating situation into something more serious. So for some of you, you may be embarking on a new creative project or pursuing a new hobby or passion. And with this total solar eclipse, as you can see with the chart I've got up on the screen, it's also got Mercury here, Jupiter, and the South Node. So the influence of the South Node means that it's going to either bring something back from the past, or you will be moving forward with like something you've thought about, or it's like been in your peripheral or in the vicinity somehow. So all of this is to say, whatever new beginning is starting for you, I don't think it will completely take you by surprise, or at the very least, it will involve pre-existing factors, okay? Whether that's ideas, projects, or people who are already in your life, okay? So this eclipse is occurring on the 12th of August, but the eclipse event, so to speak, can occur around this time, whether that's earlier in the month or later in the month. We could say even 2 to 4 weeks before, 2 to 4 weeks after. And these themes will continue to evolve over the course of several months. So the Aries individuals who will be the most impacted would be those who are at 20 degrees plus or minus about 5 degrees. So let's say 15 up to 25 degrees. Okay, Aries. So between the 12th and the 17th of August, we are going to have so many activations to Mercury in Leo, which of course is still in the 5th house. So between this time, over a 5-day period, Mercury is going to oppose Pluto in Aquarius, trine Neptune in Aries. It's going to sextile Uranus in Gemini and sextile Venus in Libra. It's going to form a conjunction with Jupiter in Leo, and it's going to trine Saturn in Aries. So this indicates that the Mercury-ruled houses have a lot to say in this 5-day period. So this is going to play out on the level of developments across client work, co-workers, employees, projects, a strong focus on communications, and maybe there's going to be a lot of networking opportunities, and definitely stay open-minded when it comes to opportunities relating to exploring your hobbies, gifts, talents, starting your own business or some kind of creative venture, or even a creative project, or even a business venture. Okay, so on the 17th of August, Mars in Cancer in your 4th house is going to square Neptune in Aries in your 1st house at 3 degrees. So Mars is your chart ruler, and the square to Neptune can play out as fatigue, not feeling like your usual self in terms of energy levels. This might indicate needing more sleep or having disturbed sleep patterns. Because we've got Mars in the 4th house squaring Neptune in your 1st house, this could also indicate having to quash or quell like feelings of frustration that come through because of your family or your property and your living situation. And you may feel like you have to just make peace with either people in your family or people that you live with, and it's like you're having to suppress that frustration, or you're having to avoid an argument, or maybe even you could feel like you're having to offer up an apology even if you're not like actually sorry. All right, so those are a few different ways that can play out. The effects are sort of between about the 16th to the 18th, or maybe even the 15th to the 19th of August, but the most intense day for that will be the 17th of August. So on the 23rd of August, Virgo season will begin. A couple days later, Mercury will enter the sign of Virgo. So Mercury will be transiting your 6th house for the next 3 weeks. Mercury is very, very strong here in the sign of Virgo. So there's a lot of potential here for you to be productive at work, to get through a lot of life admin stuff, tasks. I do think that will be a really big focus for you from basically the end of August through till about mid-September. And then on the 28th, we are going to have the total lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces. Okay, so I'm going to put that up on the screen for you. This lunar eclipse is occurring in your 12th house, and the 12th house is one of the hidden houses in astrology. It is all about spirituality, going within. There's a big focus here on overcoming self-sabotaging behaviors or coming face to face with those. The 12th house rules over things like yoga, meditation. It's one of the creative houses in astrology, and it rules over your connection to, let's say, what's behind the veil, right? It's a house of dreams and fantasy. And so with this partial lunar eclipse occurring in the 12th house, you may be completing a creative project. You may be coming to the end of some kind of retreat, whether that is spiritual or religious, like a pilgrimage. This could indicate that you are having a profound experience that relates to meditation, yoga, or something spiritual in nature. Maybe this is like a prophetic dream. I will say that because it's in the 12th house, which is associated with mental health, that your mental health could be more vulnerable at this time. So again, this is the 28th of August. Now, if you have a look at the chart on the screen, you'll see that the eclipse is actually opposing Mercury in Virgo, and it's making a super tight T-square to Uranus in Gemini in your 3rd house. So the 3rd house influence here could come through as like a really unexpected conversation or correspondence that you have or that you receive, or it could even be like a profound mindset shift because of something that you've read or something that you've watched online. Okay, so this could see you having like a paradigm shift that really impacts your approach to not just your mental health, but even your physical health as well, given that, your 6th house is triggered here. Okay, so Aries, that's all I have for you for your August reading. If you enjoyed this horoscope, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you'd like a private one-on-one reading, you can book one with me via the link in the description box below or heading to kastrology.com. And I think I've mentioned it already, but I'm on Instagram and Facebook as well if you want to see more regular updates from me. So now let's get into Taurus. Hi Taurus, Sun, Moon and Risings, welcome to your August 2026 horoscope. Your sign will be really impacted this month because this total solar eclipse that we're having in Leo is going to be squaring you. So I'll be going through the different ways that can be playing out for you as we progress through the reading. So first things first, on the 6th of August, or the 7th if you live in Australia like myself, Venus is going to enter the sign of Libra. Venus is your chart ruler. So wherever Venus is transiting, whatever aspects Venus is making, it's very important for you as a Taurus, given that this is your chart ruler. Now, Venus represents what we love to do, what we indulge in. And so Venus transiting your 6th house indicates that you're going to be enjoying what the 6th house rules over. So this is enjoying the work that you're doing, enjoying being of service, maybe spending more time with your pets, maybe even looking at bringing a pet home. And this can see you successfully being approved for a loan, or maybe this is you paying off debt. You do have to be more mindful of your health during this period because the 6th house is the house of health. So naturally you are going to be attuning to getting healthier, focusing on nutrition and diet and exercise, but also we are going to be experiencing a Venus retrograde in the coming months. So Venus is going to be retrograde in Scorpio and then retrograding back into Libra between October and November. But we're sort of in the pre-shadow period. The official pre-shadow period won't be till right at the end of the month, but just pay attention to what's coming up from about the 7th of August onwards, because this will give you an indicator as to what this Venus retrograde transit is going to be about once we get into October. On the 9th of August, or the 10th, if you live in Australia, Mercury is going to enter the sign of Leo. So Mercury is going to be transiting your 4th house. It will make an immediate square to Chiron in Taurus in your 1st house at 0 degrees. So if you're Taurus between 0 and about 5 degrees, this is going to be felt more strongly. Essentially, there can be a bit of, let's say, like pressure points that are activated that relate to your family, your emotions, maybe even your childhood, your upbringing, or perhaps like your property, your living situation, and even like your dynamics with those that you live with or with family members, which I think I mentioned at the very beginning. So on the 11th of August, Mars is going to enter the sign of Cancer. Mars will be transiting your 3rd house for about 7 weeks. Okay, so Mars transiting your 3rd house indicates that you'll be very focused on projects, things like sales, marketing, communications. And so this can see you working hard towards honing your skills or pursuing a qualification or certification of sorts. Maybe you are going to be working in a small team. You could be spearheading that team. There can be lots of frequent travel back and forth during this period of time. So lots of driving is what I mean to say. Or it could even be like short getaway trips, travel trips, going interstate. And it does have to be said that wherever Mars transits, this is where we can experience discord or disputes. So for yourself, the 3rd house here could be like butting heads with co-workers, maybe having some feedback from clients that's a bit pointy, where you're looking at potentially adjusting your offerings or your services. This could indicate that maybe there's tensions within certain friendships or your relationship with like a sibling or an extended relative, or maybe even a neighbor. Okay, but just remember that Mars is sextiling you, so this is really positive, and as in that it's positively aspecting you. So Taurus, we're going to have a total solar eclipse in Leo and this will be occurring on the 12th of August, or if you're in Australia, this is like in the early hours on the 13th. As you can see with the chart on the screen, this will be in your 4th house. Your 4th house is packed. We've got Mercury here, Jupiter, the Sun and the Moon, of course. Plus, we've also got the South Node in Leo. Now, a total solar eclipse is going to bring through a new chapter in your life, a powerful new beginning. And because of the influence of Jupiter here, it is going to be a blessing in your life, but it's also going to challenge you, and it's going to ask you to grow and to expand. And this new chapter is going to relate to 4th house matters. So this can be on the level of property and real estate, maybe buying, maybe selling, maybe expanding your property portfolio, perhaps going into real estate, or looking at putting an Airbnb on the market, or getting into like buying and flipping properties or property management, especially if you are, I was going to say a Taurus sun, because that's career, but actually the moon rules over property. Anyway, let's not pigeonhole it. If you're a Taurus, then these are a few different ways it can play out. For other Taurians, this can play out on the level of family, all right? So maybe expanding your family further. You could be looking at starting to try for a family, okay? So maybe you're getting pregnant, or maybe you're just at the beginning of that journey. Maybe you are finding out that you're going to become a grandparent. For others of you, this could indicate getting into like the family tree. So looking at lineage, heritage, and maybe even gardening, okay? Or working with families, whether that is in family law, or in midwifery, or in aged care, okay? So it's like caregiving that could be coming through. Or you may be making really important decisions on behalf of a family member. Obviously, that's a lot of different ways it can play out. So just, I guess, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. And Taurus, in terms of the eclipse events, we could put it that way, they can play out, 2 to 4 weeks before, or even 2 to 4 weeks after the eclipse. So as we glide into August, we're very much in the energy of eclipse season, and that means that you could be experiencing disturbed sleep patterns, feeling kind of tired and wired, or fatigued. Sometimes with eclipses, we can get like feelings of restlessness, and it's like a sense of anticipation. I dare say even feeling anxious, especially because this eclipse is going to be squaring you. But just remember that Jupiter here is providing a blessing. So there's certainly going to be like some growth edges that are entailed with this particular eclipse. Moving along, between the 12th and the 17th of August, Mercury is going to be making a bunch of aspects, and it will be mostly harmonious, positive aspects, except for the opposition to Pluto and Aquarius. So we've got a trine to Aries and Saturn, Neptune and Saturn in Aries. We've got a sextile to Uranus and Venus. Okay, so the Mercury ruled houses are going to be coming up for you during that period of time, so the 12th to the 17th. So there can be stuff coming up around finances, resources, expenses, and income, because Mercury rules over your 2nd house. Or it could be along the lines of creativity, love, romance, dating, and maybe starting your own business or exploring your existing business further, because Mercury rules over that 5th house. So there's so much positive, harmonious mercurial activity. So be open to collaborations, cold calls, reaching out to people, new communications projects, maybe doing something new with social media, with starting your own business, or with new services that you want to offer, or new streams of income that you are looking to cultivate. Also on the 17th of August, Mars in Cancer in your 3rd house is going to square Neptune in Aries in your 12th house. So this will be strongest on the 17th of August, but this energy will be at play like a day or two before and a day or two after. So this can compromise your sleep, feeling fatigued, maybe having to contend with some really unexpected changes to your schedule, your plans, and meetings and deadlines. So just be aware of that. And for some of you, it could be that discord with like a client, a co-worker, a sibling, a neighbor, or even an extended relative could kind of be like keeping you up at night, or that could be impacting your mental health. So just be mindful of that. On the 23rd of August, Virgo season will begin, and then a couple days later, Mercury will enter the sign of Virgo. So we're starting to see this shift into your 5th house, which is great for you because the 5th house is one of the happiest, most lucky houses in astrology. So now there's going to start to be a focus on your creative hobbies, your natural gifts, talents, perhaps love, dating, and romance. And then just a few days later, on the 28th of August, we're going to see a total lunar eclipse in Pisces take place. So again, I've put this up on the screen for you. It will be occurring at 4 degrees in your 11th house. It is making a super tight T-square that involves obviously the Sun, but also Mercury and Uranus in Gemini. So the 11th house is all about our long-term goals and plans for the future. It also rules over passive and residual forms of income, plus friendships, more in terms of like your wider friendship group or community or network. All right, so this can see you potentially receiving a reward, an accolade, or acknowledgement for something that's been in the works for several months, because this lunar eclipse is about seeing results. The square to Uranus in Gemini in your 2nd house could really take you, something could be taking you by surprise when it comes to finances, resources, expenses. It doesn't have to be quote unquote negative. It could be like, oh, I want to invest money into this, and this opportunity is coming up suddenly or unexpectedly. And so it's about, making things work financially so that you can make the investment that you want to make. Or it can be like a really abrupt change to like your personal values, because that's what the 2nd house rules over. So the 11th house and the 5th house activation here is really about your individual performance, or how you are as a unique individual amongst the collective, or in like a community or a group. This could be attaining successfully a long-term project, or a long-term goal of yours, or there can be like a really big pivot on that. And lastly, this could be playing out on the level of passive or residual forms of income, maybe receiving like a lump sum of money, a bonus. This could relate to property or family, just because 4 degrees is the Cancer degree in astrology. In any case, this eclipse is going to be sextiling you. And so this is a harmonious, beneficial aspect, and it could indicate that there's like an opportunity that you are having to either say yes to or respond to. And again, I do think that this would be rather out of the blue. So Taurus, that's all I have for you for your August horoscope. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook if you want to see more astrological regular updates from me. And you can even book a private one-on-one reading with me. So I offer several different astrological readings and even tarot readings as well. I've always got a deck with me. What's this? 3 of Wands. Future's looking good. Anyway, Taurus, that's all for now. Let's move on to Gemini. Hi Gemini, Sun, Moon and Risings. Welcome to your August 2026 horoscope. So first things first, on the 6th of August, or the 7th if you live in Australia, we're going to see Venus entering the sign of Libra, which means Venus will be transiting your 5th house. We love to see this. We love to see it for a lot of reasons. Love, romance, feeling more joyful, feeling more creatively inspired, and also this can bring through positive developments as it relates to your business if you own your own business. And I think many Geminis are going to be looking at starting their own business or really pivoting on their existing business and expanding that further in the coming months. Why? It's because we've got a Venus retrograde coming up. I'm talking about it early because we're in the unofficial pre-shadow period for Venus retrograde. Venus retrograde won't take place until October. So it'll start in Scorpio and then it's going to retrograde back into Libra. So what that means is we have to pay attention to the themes that come up soon as Venus enters Libra. Again, this is like the 6th or 7th of August. And so this can be playing out on the level of love, romance, dating, and sex. Children, whether you're looking at starting your own family or expanding that further, or it could even be working with children, plus your natural gifts, talents, hobbies, creative projects, like I said, starting your own business, even like leadership opportunities, being in the public eye, and just having an opportunity to really put yourself out there. Now, on the 9th of August, or the 10th, again, if you live in Australia like myself, Mercury is going to enter your 3rd house in Leo. It's a big deal because not only is Mercury your chart ruler, but Mercury is going to make a hell of a lot of aspects over the next 7/8 day period. First things first, we do start off on a bit of a downer. We've got Mercury squaring Chiron at 0 degrees. So that's like as soon as Mercury enters Leo. So ouch to the ego. Mercury squaring Chiron in your 12th house can see insecurities coming up. Maybe a conversation or someone making a remark could be, I guess, something that you ruminate on and either have to reject or integrate. But then, things get pretty good. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later because the next day, Mars is going to enter the sign of Cancer. So Mars is going to transit your 2nd house for about 7 weeks. Mars going through the 2nd house can see you, on one hand, being super gung-ho about developing a new stream of income or working to increase your existing income, okay, or salary, right? So Mars through the 2nd house is a bit of a double-edged sword because usually it's like there's a lot of energy to put towards increasing those finances. But on the other side of that coin, it's like there's a lot of expenses. Now, it can be that you are investing in things, Mars-like things, tools, equipment, maybe a car, or it can be like precious metals, all right? On a different note, Mars going through the second house can see you maybe working on gardening or farming. And for some of you, this could indicate that you are getting some dental work done during this period of time. Wherever Mars goes, this is like what we can be frustrated about or even argue about. So you could feel frustrated about your financial situation, your resources, or maybe having disagreements with another person over money. Hopefully not, but I do have to throw it out there. So on the 12th of August, or the early hours of the 13th of August if you're in Australia, we're going to have a total solar eclipse in Leo in your third house at 20 degrees. Let's chuck it up on the screen. All right, so as you can see, your third house is stacked. Mercury's here, Jupiter's here, the Sun and Moon are obviously here, and so is the South Node. Fortunately for you, Gemini, all these placements in Leo are sextiling you, which means that this eclipse is making a harmonious aspect to you, which we like to see. It's a total solar eclipse, which means a new chapter is starting, a new beginning is taking place. And Jupiter here, conjunct your chart ruler, I might add, represents enormous scope for growth and expansion, but you could feel like it's challenging you, like throwing you into the deep end, right? Because Jupiter conjunct your chart ruler is like go big or go home, sink or swim, right? Now, the influence of the South Node here indicates that the new beginning that's taking place is something related to something from the past, something you've wanted to call in, or maybe like an opportunity that you were already aware of, or an old dream or passion or hobby of yours. So the third house is about skills, qualifications, certifications, and it is also a house that rules over education, the other house being the ninth house for education. So this could see there being a new skill or qualification that you are pursuing, and maybe there's an opportunity for you to do this over the course of the next few months. Maybe this is like enrolling in an education program or stepping into the role of teacher. It could be that you are getting a new car, but with the South Node here, I feel like it's either a car that's secondhand or pre-owned, or it's like something you've wanted for a really long time. This could indicate that you're signing an important contract, an important document could be coming through around the time of the eclipse. Maybe there's like a new friendship group that's starting, or you could even be renewing your relationship with friends from the past, or like reestablishing your relationship with a sibling or an extended relative, and maybe there are opportunities for you to get involved with your local community. So lastly, the third house is a very techie house, and it's related to communications and social media. So maybe you're going to be starting a new social media page or channel or account, starting a new, launching a new website, building a new website. Maybe this is like a new app that you're looking at developing, or like a YouTube channel, maybe writing a book, or starting a documentary or something of that nature. Moving along, between the 12th and the 17th of August, this is where we're going to have Mercury making a bunch of aspects. So first of all, it is opposing Pluto in Aquarius, which represents this powerful urge to transform, or you could feel quite triggered by someone who is in like a position of power, someone who has a lot more maybe even like knowledge or influence than you. So it could even be like an opportunity that comes through, because Mercury is making really positive aspects in terms of harmonious sextiles and trines. I think that this will be a big blessing. All right, so Mercury's trining Neptune, trining Saturn in Aries, sextiling Venus in Libra, sextiling Uranus in Gemini, and of course forming a conjunction with Jupiter in Leo. So What this means is that your Mercury ruled houses are getting a lot of, I guess, activations. So that's your first house. It's your chart ruler and your fourth house. So for you, I feel like, and me, because I'm a Gemini rising, I feel like this is clarity coming through. What's my path? I'm taking action. I have opportunities to collaborate, to connect with other people, to travel, to educate myself further, maybe to step into the role of educator, to get a qualification. There's so much here coming up around skills. And with Mercury ruling over your fourth house, there's definitely scope for developments relating to your living situation, property and real estate, your family dynamics, maybe going into business with a family member, or like a fourth house related career, which is like caregiving, family, gardening, property, the military, security. Anyway, let's park that there. On the 17th of August, Mars in Cancer in your second house is going to square Neptune in Aries in your 11th house at 3 degrees. This is strongest on the 17th of August, but this energy is with you like 1 to 2 days before and 1 to 2 days after. So there could be some conflict that comes up around finances, resources, your personal values, like what you're comfortable with, plus, your wider network and community. It could be having an unpleasant conversation with like a friend or someone in your wider network, or maybe even an older sibling as well. Maybe this is about, having to sacrifice a goal or pivot on your long-term plans. All right, moving along, on the 23rd of August, Virgo season will begin. A couple days later, Mercury is going to enter Virgo, which means it will be transiting your fourth house. So because this is your chart ruler, whichever sign Mercury enters and whichever house it's transiting, this is where you put your attention and focus. So for the next 3 weeks, from the 25th of August onwards, Mercury in your fourth house is like, I'm thinking about my property, I'm thinking about my living situation, I'm thinking about my family, I'm, thinking about my ancestry, my lineage. And, it's really about going inwards, like your personal life, your personal world. So a lot can be coming up here around emotions and how you deal with stress and potentially conflict, right? So on the 28th of August, we've got a couple things going on. We've got a Sun-Mercury cazimi, which means the Sun is conjunct Mercury in Virgo in your fourth house at 4 degrees. And then just a few hours later, we've got the Total Lunar Eclipse in Pisces in your 10th house. Let's look at it up on the screen. So eclipses in the first house, the fourth house, the seventh house, or the 10th house will always impact us more than the other houses. So in the 10th house, it's really about your career, your public reputation, your status, and your high-level responsibilities. With this eclipse in your 10th house, first of all, as a lunar eclipse, it's like illuminating something that's already been in flux or in motion, reaching a peak of sorts. So this can indicate a change in status. It can be any status as long as it's formal or formalized. So that can be employment status, property ownership status, even your marital status or your romantic status. This can be parental status, meaning are you a parent, step parent, becoming an adoptive or foster parent. This can be like your legal status in terms of permanent residency, or it can be like a government ruled decision, or even like a legal ruling. Okay, so this is also about your legacy, what you want to create, what you want to leave behind. This eclipse is doing the most. It's opposite Mercury in Virgo at 5 degrees, and it is making a super tight T-square with Uranus in Gemini in your first house. So for sure, Gemini's around 4 or 5 degrees, but we can even say like 0 up to 10 degrees, you're going to feel it. you're going to feel it. Okay, so just take what resonates from what I've mentioned and see how that plays out for you. But again, it can be changes to your employment status, relationship status, maybe securing a new property, selling a property, changes to romantic status, finding out that you're, or maybe becoming a parent, or finding out that you're going to become a parent or a grandparent. Okay, so there could be some stuff that comes up around family as well, given that it's at 4 degrees and it's opposing Mercury in your 4th house. So Gemini, that's all I have for you for your August horoscope. If you want to book a private one-on-one reading, you can do so via castrology.com. The link's in the description box below. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook and post regularly there. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Now let's move on to Cancer. Hi Cancer, Sun, Moon and Risings, welcome to your August 2026 horoscope. Make sure you listen to the whole reading because eclipses is when things really move for you guys because you're ruled by the moon. So eclipses affect you more than the average sign unless of course the eclipse is in that person's sign. So I will get into those as we move throughout the reading, but let's start from the top. Well, actually, do you know what? Eclipse season, given that we're in it right now, could indicate that your sleep patterns are sort of a bit all over the place. Maybe you're feeling a bit wired and tired, maybe requiring more sleep than normal, or just sort of like waking up through the night. Usually, Cancerians feel kind of restless around eclipses, especially as we get closer and closer to the eclipse. So the first one's on the 12th of August. The second one is on the 28th of August. In any case, though, on the 6th of August, Venus is going to enter the sign of Libra. All right, so Venus is going to be transiting your 4th house until early September. Venus going through the 4th house indicates that there's a focus on your family, your home, your property, and your living situation. Maybe you're getting into gardening or looking at sprucing up the place, maybe investing in furniture or just sort of moving things around. It can be a time where you do entertain people at your home, and maybe you'll be getting into a bit of family history, right? Like your family tree, looking at ancestry, lineage, and perhaps even enjoying time with family. Okay, so Cancer, then on the 9th of August, or the 10th if you live in Australia, we're going to see Mercury enter the sign of Leo. Okay, so Mercury is going to be transiting your 2nd house for the next couple of weeks only. It is quite a short transit. In any case, Mercury is going to be doing a lot in your 2nd house because it's going to make a lot of aspects. But first and foremost, it is going to square Chiron in Taurus in your 11th house at 0 degrees. So there can be some internal or external conflict surrounding your income and your salary. Like, what is it that you're having to do to earn an income or increase your finances and your resources? On a different note, this can be challenging your personal values or feeling like your personal values are somehow at odds either with your community and your wider network, or even like your long-term goals and dreams for the future. On the 11th of August, Mars is going to enter Cancer. So Mars will be transiting your 1st house for about the next 7 weeks. And this can see you actually really wanting to work out. I remember the last time Mars was in Cancer. I've got Mars in Cancer myself in my intercepted first house, and I was just like going for runs and working out. So Mars through the first house for you guys can see you focusing on getting fit, pushing yourself, maybe taking on like a physical health challenge. Maybe that's going for runs, doing a marathon, or just working on your physique. It's interesting because it's a bit paradoxical. On one hand, you can feel like you've got more stamina and more energy and you're just like go, go, go. But on the other hand, it's like there's so many more responsibilities when Mars transits your first house. So you can be busy, busy, busy. I do have to tell you that this is a transit where you can be more prone to accidents and inflammation. So if you know you have an allergy or an intolerance, you probably don't want to roll the dice when Mars is transiting your first house. Again, this is from the 11th of August for about the next 7 weeks. On the 12th or 13th of August, if you're in Australia, there's going to be a total solar eclipse in Leo at 20 degrees. It's in your second house. Okay, so new moon eclipses are all about a new chapter beginning. And I've just put the chart up on the screen. As you can see, there's so much happening in your second house. We've got Mercury, Jupiter, the Sun, the Moon, and the South Node all here. So this indicates that there's an enormous focus for you on your finances, your resources, investments, purchases, and expenses. It could be that you're investing in something new. Maybe it's a new asset, property even. The second house is one of the property houses, so you could be investing in property. Maybe this is like starting, to, I guess, get into gardening or farming, like growing your own food. This could see you investing in a certain product, or you're like developing a new product that you're eventually going to sell. This could indicate that you are actually working really hard to elevate your self-esteem on a physical level. The second house rules over things like dental work, hair, beauty, the face, plus storage. All right. So this could be like investing in something that's going to allow you to, I guess, have like a storage unit. Maybe it's like a shed or a garage. Maybe this is like a massive clean out or clear out of your existing wardrobe, your possessions, your valuables. These are all second house themes. Maybe you're doing a bit of an overhaul when it comes to your personal appearance, whether that's like hair, makeup, your wardrobe, how you dress, like dress sense. And ultimately, this total solar eclipse in your second house is going to see you working on things that are going to elevate your self-esteem and your own, like, I guess, self-confidence, if we can call it that way. I really do think that this represents an opportunity to make money in a new way. Okay, so I guess the talking points here are finances, resources, expenses, valuables, and assets. Between the 12th and the 17th of August, your Mercury ruled houses are going to be super activated because Mercury in Leo in your second house is going to oppose Pluto. It's going to trine Neptune and Saturn. It's going to sextile Venus and Uranus, and it's going to conjunct Jupiter in Leo. Not necessarily in that order, but ultimately your Mercury ruled houses are your third house and your 12th house. So there's a lot of scope here for networking, friendships, working on skill development, attaining qualifications, maybe starting new projects. I think I already said that. Perhaps important new contracts will be signed around this time. And then the 12th house influence it's more of like a hidden house, but it's like very creative. So it could be something creative in nature, music, writing, maybe something to do with yoga, meditation, spirituality, healing, therapy, or psychology. Okay, so on the 17th of August, Mars in Cancer in your first house is going to square Neptune in Aries in your 10th house at 3 degrees. So you can feel kind of challenged when it comes to your career, your public reputation, your high level responsibilities, your your status when it comes to employment, property ownership, romantic status, parental status, or even legal status, and even just like the legacy that you want to leave behind. So if you are in like a Neptunian line of work, then this could be indicative of a new opportunity that comes through. So that could be, let's say, health, medicine, anything to do with like healing modalities, spirituality, yoga, meditation, working in the hotel industry as well, tourism, resorts, islands, and that kind of thing. So on the 23rd of August, Virgo season will begin. And then on the 25th, Mercury is going to enter the sign of Virgo. So we start shifting that focus away from your second house of finances and resources, and now focusing more on communications, writing, networking, friends, friendship, and, you know, even like education. And once more, I'm going to mention skill development. So lastly, for the month Cancer, stick around for this one, because now we're looking at the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. It's in your 9th house at 4 degrees. It is trining you, which is amazing. We love an eclipse in the 9th house trining us. So first and foremost, the Cancerians who would be the most impacted would be those at 4 degrees, or even like 0 to 10 degrees, to be honest. In any case, a lunar eclipse or a full moon eclipse is all about a culmination point or something like reaching its peak. And this can be a very illuminating eclipse for you. So this could be an opportunity to travel abroad or even interstate, to be honest. It could come up suddenly. This eclipse is making a super duper tight T-square with Uranus in Gemini in your 12th house, and it's also it involves Mercury in Virgo. So you can see with the chart up on the screen here that the full moon is opposite Mercury and then squaring Uranus, and so the square to Uranus is really what brings through like this element of unpredictability, something super shocking or out of left field. But because the eclipse is trining you, it's like a positive opportunity, okay? It just means that you're going to have to be quite spontaneous and adaptable. So it could involve travel, it could involve teaching, higher education, meeting a teacher, mentor, guru. It could involve spirituality, or even, you know, religion. And for others of you, this could be playing out on the level of belief systems, where it's like you just have a shocking, sudden change in your beliefs. It's like a massive paradigm shift about how you see the world, how you experience the world. It can be about politics. It can be about esoteric matters, the unseen, the hidden realms. It can be about religion, or, I mean, you name it, any kind of belief system, right? It can be like your beliefs around finances even, or philosophy, right? So lastly, this could indicate you are maybe establishing like an import and export trade, or you're like going global with a certain service or a product, because the 9th house does rule over import and export. It also rules over publishing. So this could be you getting published, or it's like you are securing, like, I guess, the arrangement to get published, even if you don't have something that's like ready to go right now, right? So the 9th house also rules over your vision for your future. And I mean, this does kind of factor under the umbrella of your belief systems, but the lunar eclipse in the 9th house, I beg your pardon, is like, okay, what do I believe? What's my vision for my future? How do I see my life unfolding? Maybe this is to do with like an interstate relocation or an international relocation, given that it's like a square to Uranus in the 12th house. And again, this could come up suddenly, abruptly. Maybe it's just like an opportunity that falls into your lap, and it's like, do you want to study abroad? Do you want to move? Do you want to teach? Do you want to just go on this adventure. Okay, so even if it's not travel per se, it's like, I don't know why I'm hearing like the adventure of a lifetime, but you know, I'll park that there with you. Just remember, eclipses affect you because you're ruled by the moon, and a full moon eclipse would impact you, I dare say, more than a solar eclipse as well. Okay, because we can see the full moon in its entirety with this eclipse. So Cancer, if you enjoyed this reading, please do me a favor and give it a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. If you'd like to book a private one-on-one reading with me, you can do so via the link in the description box below, or head to kastrology.com. I do offer a number of different astrology readings and even tarot readings as well. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook if you want to see more regular astrological updates from me. And I even post some personal life stuff if you want to know the astrologer behind the astrology. Okay, now let's get into Leo. Hi Leo, Sun, Moon and Risings. This is your season. Not only is it Leo season, so first of all, happy birthday, but it is eclipse season, and we've got a total solar eclipse in Leo in your sign. So do make sure that you watch the whole horoscope. We've got 2 eclipses happening this month. We've got one in Leo at in the middle of the month, and then one at the very end of the month in Pisces. So first of all, a big happy birthday to all you August born Leos. By the way, I do offer private one-on-one astrology readings and tarot readings. And so if you're a Leo sun, this is a perfect time for you to book in a solar return birthday reading. But now let's just get into it. On the 6th of August, Venus is going to enter the sign of Libra. So Venus is going to be transiting your 3rd house. We love this. Venus naturally rules over the sign of Libra, so Venus is very, very happy in Libra. And then Venus transit in your 3rd house can see you enjoying learning new skills, whether that's like something creative in nature or pursuing a qualification. This can see you enjoying time with co-workers and clients and working in small groups and small teams. There can be a fair bit of travel that you do, but it would be for for leisure, let's say, or something that you enjoy. So maybe it's like a weekend away, or like a day trip or an excursion somewhere. And this can also see there being an increase in sales, all right, because the 3rd house is associated with sales, marketing, and contracts. And for some of you, this is simply put a time for you to enjoy your friendships or even your relationships with like siblings and extended relatives. Now, do pay attention to what comes up for you from the 6th of August onwards, because we're kind of in like the pre-shadow retrograde period. Venus will be retrograde across Scorpio and Libra, although that's not until October, November. But in essence, the themes that come up from about the 6th or 7th of August onwards are going to pertain to whatever's unfolding in the Venus retrograde. So on the 9th of August or the 10th, if you live in Australia like myself, Mercury is going to enter Leo. It's going to be transiting your 1st house only for just over 2 weeks. And Mercury is doing so much in Leo. It is aspecting almost every planet, which is kind of profound, but it is first and foremost going to make a hard square to Chiron in Taurus in your 10th house at 0 degrees. So immediately around the 9th, 10th, even the 11th of August, this can throw up a bit of, how should we say, like ego wounding, all right, where it's like, you know, not feeling the best around your public reputation or how you presented something or how it came off, or you could feel like you are being challenged in that way, or it's like there's a gap between how you see yourself in your mind and how you feel that you're presenting. We'll just park that there. On the 11th of August, Mars is going to enter the sign of Cancer, so it's going to be transiting your 12th house. The 12th house is a hidden, unseen house in astrology. So Mars in the 12th house indicates that you're going to be working hard behind the scenes. So this can be on like a creative project, this can be on like self-development, overcoming self-sabotaging behaviors. This can see you actually tackling anything that you feel is not serving you, whether this is like someone who's not in alignment, finding out that someone's actually working against you. And then Mars in the 12th house is like you're cutting cords with that individual, or just releasing what is no longer in alignment. Okay, this is a really auspicious time for cultivating a strong yoga practice and meditation practice, because Mars in the 12th house in Cancer is like you have the energy and the motivation and determination to pursue that. On the 12th of August, or even the early hours of the 13th of August, if you're in Australia, we're going to have a total solar eclipse in Leo at 20 degrees. All right, it's in your first house. I've put it up on the screen for you to have a look-see. There's so much happening in your first house. My God, we've got Mercury here, Jupiter, the Sun, Moon, and the South Node. First things first, eclipses in our sign, or even like the 4th house, the 7th house, the 10th house, are going to be far more active than if they're in any other house. So an eclipse in your first house, in your sign in Leo, is a big deal. A new moon total solar eclipse is going to bring through a new chapter for you, a new chapter for you, a new lease on life, a new direction, a new opportunity. So if you're a Leo rising, then this can be like your path in life, how you present, how you dress, your appearance, working on your physical health and vitality. It could be getting pregnant. It could be, a new romantic relationship developing, or a development in your existing relationship. If you're a Leo sun, this eclipse is more so to do with your career, okay? A new job, and maybe a new boss, maybe a new work opportunity, maybe starting your own business. To be fair, if you're a Leo rising, this could also be playing out across career as well. But, for Leo sun, this is more so to do with your career, your natural gifts, your creative intelligence, and the way in which you shine. If you're a Leo sun, I do want to recommend again the solar return reading, especially if your birthday is around the time of the eclipse. But in any case, if you're a Leo moon, then this eclipse could be to do with like a new property, right? So buying, selling, renovating, maybe a new flatmate, maybe getting new tenants, maybe looking at getting into like the property industry, Airbnbs, buying and flipping properties is what I meant to say. If you're a Leo moon, this could be a new romantic development taking place. It could be getting pregnant, all right, or finding out that you're going to become a parent. Maybe that's your significant other, maybe becoming a grandparent. So there's myriad different ways that this can play out. And I do want to recommend that you watch your rising sign, your sun, and your moon sign, just as a general rule of thumb. Between the 12th and the 17th of August, Mercury is going to do just about everything. Mercury will oppose Pluto in Aquarius. It will trine Neptune in Aries. It will sextile Uranus in Gemini. It will conjunct Jupiter in your first house. It will also sextile, did I already say, Venus in Libra, and it'll trine Saturn in Aries. So like I said, Mercury's doing the most. So that means we need to look at what are your Mercury ruled houses in astrology, because that's what's really being activated as well. So for you, it's the 2nd house and the 11th house, both money houses, both connected to income. So the second house is like your personal income, expenses, your valuables and your possessions. And the 11th house is like passive forms of income, as well as awards and accolades, getting recognition. And it's like your wider network, wider community, and your long-term goals and dreams. So these themes are going to be coming up for you in such a big way when Mercury is in Leo, but in particular between about the 12th and the 17th of August. Also on the 17th of August, Mars in Cancer in your 12th house is going to square Neptune in Aries in your 9th house. So this can bring up what you might call like a conflict of interest as it relates to your spiritual views, your religious views, or even your feelings towards like your path in life, your vision for your future, what direction are you headed in. And so, there may be like a deep level frustration that comes through around this time. But I mean, honestly, with this coinciding with Mercury making so many positive aspects, I think that is like offset by that energy. On the 23rd of August, I'm sorry, Leo season is over as Virgo season begins. A few days later on the 25th, Mercury will enter Virgo. So now there really starts to be this emphasis on what's going on as it relates to finances and resources, because that's what the second house rules over. On the 28th of August, Leo, we're going to have our second eclipse. So this is a partial lunar eclipse in Pisces in your 8th house at 4 degrees. I mentioned it for Cancer, and now I'm going to mention it for you. Eclipses are more impactful for you, your sign Leo, and as well as Cancer, than other signs, because you're ruled by the sun, and the sun is always involved in eclipses as well as new moons and full moons. Okay, so even if you don't have Pisces in the chart, still hang around for this eclipse interpretation. A full moon lunar eclipse in your 8th house is going to see there being a focus on your mutual resources. And full moon eclipses are about like a culmination point, something reaching a peak or even a conclusion. And there can be like, let's say, clarity that arises around these subjects. So the lunar eclipse in the 8th house could indicate a change or a shift when it comes to mutual resources. So think joint bank accounts, joint investments, child support, alimony, spousal support. Maybe there's notifications here around inheritances, insurance, tax payouts, or even like an audit that comes through. The 8th house also rules over things like intimacy, privacy and secrets. So there could be like a sexual or intimate experience which is very memorable around the 28th of August. So maybe that's with like a new partner, or exploring something different with your existing partner. On a different note, this can be having to come face to face with fears and insecurities, which is another function of the 8th house. Or there can be like a breakthrough with your psychologist, therapist, or even some kind of healing modality. So this eclipse is making a super tight T-square with Uranus. All right, so Uranus is in Gemini in your 11th house. And of course, this eclipse, as you can see, is also opposing Mercury in Virgo in your 2nd house. So the 2nd house and the 8th house are money houses in astrology, and the 11th house is also a money house. So money, 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 resources, resources, resources. This really is like a real theme for you as the month progresses, and in particular around the end of the month with this lunar eclipse in your 8th house. So Leo, that's all I have for you for your August horoscope. If you enjoyed it, please give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you want to see more regular updates like astrologically, or even, the astrologer behind the astrology, then you can find me on Instagram and Facebook. Now let's move on to Virgo. Hi Virgo, Sun, Moon and Risings. Welcome to your August horoscope. So much happening this month. So we've got 2 eclipses and one of them is going to be in your 7th house. So anytime there's an eclipse in the 1st, 4th, 7th or 10th, it's a big deal. Nevertheless, let us start from the top. So on the 6th of August, or even the 7th, if you live in Australia like myself, Venus is going to enter Libra in your 2nd house. Hello, we're already talking about money and resources. Do pay attention to what comes up once Venus enters Libra, because this will be part of the Venus retrograde story once we get into September, which is the official pre-shadow period, and then October and November. We're going to have Venus retrograde in Scorpio and Libra across October, November, and so those themes will arise as early as the 6th of August. So first of all, Venus going through the 2nd house is amazing because Venus is naturally aligned to the energy of the 2nd house and Venus rules over the sign of Libra. So this can see you increasing your income. So maybe this is an increase in salary, or it's like finding new ways to make money. On a different note, Venus going through the 2nd house can see you basically experiencing a lot of creative inspiration. It's one of our creative houses in astrology, and there is a big focus on investing in self. Okay, so this is like self-care, whether that is massage, maybe beauty treatments, or like enhancing your physical appearance, maybe investing in a new wardrobe. Maybe these things sound kind of superficial to you, but hey, it's a general reading, so just roll with it. Venus going through the 2nd house could also see you actually indulging a lot, all right? So maybe it's on eating out, maybe it's on certain valuables or possessions, but we'll park that there for now. On the 9th of August, or the 10th if you live in Australia, Mercury, which is your chart ruler, is going to enter the sign of Leo. So it's going to be transiting your 12th house for about just over 2 weeks. First things first, it does square Chiron in Taurus in the 9th house. Ouch. This is bringing up some internal conflict around your belief systems, maybe not sleeping super well, maybe feeling like your beliefs are challenged somehow, or it's like you're trying to deprogram yourself from something that you were maybe raised to believe. And you know, it could also even be experiencing tension with someone who's somewhat of like a guide, a teacher, a guru, or a mentor for you. In any case though, Mercury is going to make a bunch of really harmonious aspects in the coming days. But first, let's look at the 11th of August. Mars will enter the sign of Cancer on the 11th. So it's going to be transiting your 11th house for about the next 7 weeks. Mars going through the 11th house indicates that this is where you're going to put your energy, your attention, and your focus. So it can be towards cultivating a passive or residual form of income. It can indicate that you are actively networking, okay, looking to expand your existing network further. It can be taking action towards a long-term goal, a big project of yours or a dream of yours. It does have to be said that this could be conflict with an older sibling, or it could be conflict with a friend or someone who's like in your community. But I've always found Mars transiting the 11th house to be really productive. In fact, pretty sure I started my YouTube channel when Mars was transiting my 11th house. So there can be a focus for you on innovation, science, technology, like developing something new, because the 11th house is really associated with science, tech, innovation and invention. Okay, so maybe there's going to be something that's playing out on that level. Mars going through the 11th house could see you actively working towards attaining a scholarship, a grant, raising funds, so getting investors to come on board or something of that nature. Now getting to the eclipses. First eclipse we've got going on is on the 12th of August, or if you're in Australia, it's the early hours of the 13th. it's a total solar eclipse in your 12th house. So we've got the sun conjunct the moon naturally. But look, we've also got Mercury here, which is your chart ruler, Jupiter, and the South Node. So your 12th house is absolutely jam-packed at the moment, or at this point in time. A total solar eclipse is going to indicate a new chapter starting in your life, something new that's being seeded. But given that the South Node is here, it does involve something from the past. So that can be like from years ago, like years and years ago. It could even be like past life stuff, if I'm honest. But ultimately, it's going to play out across 12th house themes. So working on a creative project, maybe working behind the scenes, maybe something to do with the hotel and tourism industry. This could be to do with healing modalities, retreats, yoga, meditation, esoteric studies, spirituality, religion, or even like working in a hospital or working towards improving your mental health. Maybe starting sessions with a psychologist or a therapist of sorts. And for others of you, it could indicate that there are just like a plethora of synchronicities and signs from the universe that you are receiving and intuiting somehow. The 12th house is a house of isolation. So around this time, there could be cause for you to spend time in isolation. Okay, so whether that's at home, whether that's like, staying by yourself at a retreat or a hotel. Maybe some of you have a surgery around this period of time. So in any case, I'll park that with you, but just know that because this eclipse is conjunct Mercury, which is your chart ruler, and we've got Jupiter sandwiched in between here, this is drawing you into this energy of the eclipse, okay? So the eclipse is also trining Saturn in Aries, which, thank God, it's a positive aspect to Saturn. So this can indicate that you are working on something, or something comes through that is going to be like a longer chapter for you, okay? Because Saturn is about commitment, longevity, laying the foundations, putting in the hard yards. So again, I'll park that with you for now, and let's move on, Virgo. Between the 12th and the 17th of August, this is where Mercury in Leo in your 12th house is going to be doing all the things. It will oppose Pluto in Aquarius. It will trine Neptune and Saturn in Aries. It will conjunct Jupiter in Leo. It will sextile both Uranus in Gemini and Venus in Libra. So other than that first square it makes to Chiron and the opposition to Pluto in Aquarius, it is all positive, harmonious aspects. So in this instance, we now need to look at, well, where in your chart or which houses does Mercury rule over? It rules over the first house, which is you as a Virgo. It rules over the 10th house as well. So don't you worry about getting the answers, figuring out your path, like deciphering what may feel like code or symbols or signs from the universe. The creative inspiration is coming. The knowledge, the awareness, like the revelation of what path you should be pursuing, it's all going to come through over the course of several weeks. I want to say August and then through into September as well. So if there's been doubt around your public reputation, your legacy, your career, a lot of clarity is going to come through around these things. And even things like your status, whether that's like legal status, government status, property ownership, romantic status, employment status, and so on and so forth. The answers that you seek will come. Okay, so on the 17th of August, Mars in Cancer in your 11th house is going to square Neptune in Aries in your 8th house. So this could indicate that there's a bit of discord and tension with respect to your community, friendships, your long-term goals and plans or dreams for the future, and even, I guess, your financial plans as well, because the 8th house and the 11th house are financial houses. And then we've got Virgo season beginning on the 23rd of August. So first of all, happy birthday Virgos, happy Virgo season to all you Virgo rising suns and moons. I'm a Virgo moon myself, so love doing my Virgo readings. If you're a Virgo sun, let me know when your birthday is in the comments so that we can all wish you a happy birthday. And quick note, I do offer solar return readings, which is like a birthday astrology reading. So this is an ideal time to book that in if you are specifically a Virgo sun. Now, on the 25th of August, Mercury, your chart ruler, is going to enter Virgo. So it's going to be transiting your first house for roughly the next 3 weeks. So we love to see Mercury in Virgo because it rules Virgo and it's also exalted here as well. So you could say with confidence that Virgo is Mercury's favorite sign to be in. Cue sharp mental awareness, heightened attention to detail, focusing on yourself, your health, and just feeling like you have a much clearer mind. And this is the first time that we're having Mercury in Virgo without the South Node messing things up in like a year and a half. So this Mercury in Virgo transit's a very welcome sight. It's going to hit different in the best kind of way. Now, lastly for the month Virgo, let's talk about the eclipse. On the 28th of August, just a few hours after the Sun-Mercury cazimi in Virgo at 4 degrees, we are going to have a partial lunar eclipse in Pisces in your 7th house at 4 degrees. First of all, the Virgos who are going to feel this the most will be those around 4 or 5 degrees, but we can pad that out to even 0 to 10 degrees Virgo. As you can see in the chart, this eclipse is opposing Mercury in Virgo at 5 degrees, and it's making such a tight T-square to Uranus in Gemini in your 10th house, also at 5 degrees. Okay, so again, Virgos at 4 or 5 degrees, like, wow, listen up, pay attention. This is you. This is your jam. So a lunar eclipse is all about something reaching a culmination point. It's like a climax, I guess, an astrological climax of sorts. Something reaches a conclusion or its peak. And with this eclipse in the 7th house, this is playing out on the level of your relationship with another person. Okay, so the 7th house is like one-to-one relationships and agreements of all kinds. So this can be an important contract coming through, an important correspondence or documentation coming through. This could be a legal matter that is being determined. This can be you signing an important document or going into business with another person. Maybe this is like a sale or a deal that you've been trying to close for a really long time. For others of you, it could be like the release of someone from your life. All right. So maybe it's like, okay, I don't want to do business with this person anymore. I don't want to, have this person as my tutor or be in this one-to-one connection. Or it can be like breaking a lease, breaking a contract, walking away from a negotiation. All right. Because of the tight square to Uranus, it's going to be quick. It's going to be unexpected, or it's going to be like a severing of ties. If it's not a severing of ties and it's more of like, a handshake, a deal being done, then it's super swift. It's out of the blue and it's like now or never, got to do this quickly. Okay, there is a sense of urgency as it pertains to this eclipse, and it involves you direct, Virgo. I say that not because the eclipse is in your 7th house. I say it because the eclipse is making an almost exact opposition to Mercury, which is your chart ruler in your 1st house. All right. So with the influence of 1st house, 7th house, and then even 10th house as well, it can be like contracts. It can also be your employment status, public reputation, career, legacy, your high level responsibilities. Maybe it's like buying or selling a property. Maybe it is, a change in your work title or responsibilities. Maybe it's like a shock exit from your like a boss or someone who's in upper management, or it could even be like an unexpected announcement about the company. And it doesn't mean, you know, that you're being let go necessarily. It could be more or less like, hey, this is the direction we're deciding to take it in, and everyone's like, wait, what? So expect the unexpected with this eclipse. And as always, I do like to say, do go ahead and watch your rising sun and moon sign horoscopes if you've got time, especially your rising sign if you know you're not a Virgo rising you've got a different rising. Okay, so Virgo, that's all I have for you for your horoscope. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook if you want to see more regular astrological updates from me there. So now I'm going to take about a 10-minute intermission, and then we'll be back for Libra. Okay, I'll see you guys shortly. Hi Libra Sun, Moon and Risings. Welcome to your August 2026 horoscope. Let's dive straight in with the good news. Venus, which is your chart ruler, will be entering the sign of Libra on the 6th of August. Or if you're in Australia, it'll be the 7th of August. We love to see this because Venus naturally rules over the sign of Libra. Venus is at home here. So Venus through the first house is going to see you feeling more attractive, becoming more charismatic, as if that were possible. And honestly, this can see you just feeling more at peace, more at home within yourself. And I do want you to take note of what comes up during this period of time, because you may not be aware, but we've got a Venus retrograde coming up. We've got Venus retrograde in Scorpio and then moving back into Libra in your first house. And this won't happen until October, November. But once Venus enters Libra, it's kind of like the pre-shadow period. Okay, so the official pre-shadow period won't be until pretty much the 31st of August, if not the 1st of September. But these themes are going to start revealing themselves once Venus enters your first house. Now, on the 9th of August, or the 10th if you're in Australia, we're going to see Mercury entering the sign of Leo. So Mercury is going to be transiting your 11th house for the next just over 2 weeks, all right? And Mercury is going to be making so many aspects. The first one it makes is a tough one. So we've got Mercury in Leo in the 11th house, squaring Chiron in Taurus in the 8th house. So this can bring up insecurities around like belonging, friendship, your wider network, plus your long-term goals and dreams for the future, and just, you know, the ways in which you are maybe having to pursue those. Okay, with Chiron in the 8th house, there can be some uncomfortable stuff coming up around mutual resources or accepting help or support from other people. Moving along, on the 11th of August, Mars is going to enter Cancer. So Mars is going to be transiting your 10th house for about the next 7 weeks. Mars takes over 2 years to do a full transit through all 12 zodiac signs. So you only have this transit occur once every 2+ years. It's a very productive transit for career, or even we could say your high level responsibilities. So Mars going through the 10th house is going to see you working towards building your legacy or creating a legacy. This can see you working towards getting a new job or applying for a promotion. For some of you, this can play out on the level of challenging authority figures. Okay, so maybe this is like challenging the government or some kind of like ruling that has been made against you that you're not happy with. Mars going through the 10th house is a time where you can work really hard towards improving your public reputation. And it's interesting because normally I would say, you know, you have to watch out for, and again, it feels weird to say this to Libras because you guys are like the most polite people ever. But when Mars goes through the 10th house, we can come across like more aggressive than we mean to be, or it can even be like bossy or pushy. I do think that this will be offset by the fact that Venus is transiting your first house. So maybe the experience will be like your boss or someone who is in a position of power in some way is like being maybe unjust with you or just like pushing your buttons somehow. Okay, but on the whole, it's a very active and positive time to when it comes to working towards like career goals or like high level responsibilities. Now onto the eclipses, well, the first eclipse at least. On the 12th of August, we've got a total solar eclipse in Leo in your 11th house. It's at 20 degrees. I've got the chart up on the screen so you can take a look. Total solar eclipses are about a new chapter taking place in our lives, like something is being seeded. Okay, so this this energy in your 11th house is so intense. We've got Mercury here, we've got Jupiter, we've got the sun and the moon, and we've also got the south node as well. So ultimately, this indicates that your 11th house themes are coming up. So it can be like a new long-term goal or plan for your future, cultivating a new passive or residual form of income, inventing or innovating something new. It can be like forming a new community or joining a new community. It can be applying for like a grant, a scholarship, getting an investor on board, or collaborating with another person. The influence of the South Node here indicates that whatever is coming online for you, it's not too shocking, all right? It's kind of whereas other eclipses can really take you by surprise. The South Node here is like, oh, but this is from the past, or you wanted to do this from before, or this is like a second bite of the apple, or now you're just finally pursuing that thing that you thought about, even if it was like years ago. Okay, so when I say new, it's like you are taking something in a new direction, but again, I do think it involves like a pre-existing idea, concept, plan, connection, or whatever. It does happen to coincide with the trine between Venus in Libra and Uranus in Gemini, which is amazing. And of course, Mercury is sextiling both Venus and Uranus here. So I do think that this will impact you directly, and I think that you are going to be making new friends or expanding your existing network further, or it's like opportunities come via other people. All right, Libra. So the eclipse, like I said, is on the 12th of August, but the eclipse event per se can take place even like 2 to 4 weeks before the eclipse, or 2 to 4 weeks after. So we're really in the throes of the eclipse season right now as I'm filming on the 31st of July. And these eclipse, themes can really continue to unfold as we move into September. All right, Libra. So between the 12th and the 17th of August, Mercury is going to be opposing Pluto, trining Neptune and Saturn, sextiling Uranus and Venus, which we've discussed. Plus, it's going to be conjuncting Jupiter in Leo. So it's important to consider what your Mercury ruled houses are, because these are going to be activated. For you, it's the 9th house and the 12th house. So this is like travel, your belief systems, spirituality, maybe religion for some of you, education. It's to do with like esotericism, healing, yoga, meditation. Okay, so it's like your belief systems. There's a degree of creativity that is being triggered here in a positive way, or maybe even having the opportunity to learn something new or step into the role of teacher. So on the 17th of August, Mars in Cancer in your 10th house is going to square Neptune in Aries in your 7th house at 3 degrees. So this can see there being discord with respect to you and another person, whether this is like about an agreement, an arrangement, a contract, your relationship in and of itself. Maybe this is about like your status, or like really important high-level responsibilities, or it could be to do with your work and employment situation. So there's probably going to be a degree of frustration here, but just remember that Mercury is going to be trining Saturn around this time, okay, like within a few hours of it. So I think that'll be offsetting that energy. On the 23rd of August, Virgo season is going to begin, okay, so not long until it's your season, which is obviously going to be in September, but in any case, Virgo season begins on the 23rd, and then Mercury enters Virgo on the 25th. So now we've got some activations to your 12th house as we close out the rest of the month. So that can bring some stuff up around like mental health, self-sabotaging behaviors. So there may be cause for you to address these if they do come up. Just know, or just remember, I should say, that Mercury is exalted and in domicile in Virgo, which means it's literally its favorite place to be. So I do think that this is a great time for anything pertaining to creative writing or working on projects behind the scenes. So finishing up Libra with the eclipse in Pisces. So this will be taking place in your 6th house at 4 degrees. This eclipse is making some super tight, harsh aspects, or hard aspects, I should say. First of all, it is opposing Mercury in Virgo at 5 degrees. And so basically the moon, the sun, Mercury, it's making a super tight square to Uranus in Gemini in your 9th house. Fortunately, Uranus in Gemini in your 9th house is trining you, but ultimately there's stuff coming up here with the eclipse in your 6th house around things like loans, debts, work, employment, your day-to-day responsibilities, health, nutrition, and habits. So this eclipse here in the 6th house could see you experiencing a change to your day-to-day life, your routines, expectations with work. It could be like the conclusion of a work project. Lunar eclipses or full moon eclipses tend to bring through results, or like it's a culmination point or a peak of something that's already like in motion. All right, so it's not a new beginning. This is like a full stop end, or like a bookend to a situation that's already been ongoing for probably some time. So this can see you paying off a loan or a debt, or taking on a loan or a debt, like being approved for it. Maybe there's going to be an opportunity for you to shift the dynamics in terms of what's happening with your pets. So maybe this is like adopting a pet, fostering a pet, pet sitting. It is a time where you may want to get on the front foot and actually take your pet for a checkup at the vet. On a different level, the 6th house is all to do with conflicts. So a full moon in the 6th house on one level can stir things up, but on another level, it can be like the abrupt end to a conflictual situation. Some of you may find that you're wanting to or needing to let go of an employee or someone who is in your service. In any case, with this sharp aspect to Uranus in the 9th house, there could be something that comes up around your plans for travel, okay, whether this is to do with like the itinerary, the dates, or it's like the, oh my gosh, what was I going to say? Like visas and that kind of thing. Okay, so something unexpected may be coming up in relation to that. And then the trigger to the 12th house can relate to creative work behind the scenes, intuitive downloads, spirituality, your practice with, say, like meditation, yoga, spiritual practice, or maybe even like getting an illuminating reading. Speaking of which, I do offer private one-on-one readings for both tarot and astrology. So if you want to book one, you can do so via kastrology.com. The link is in the description box below. So Libra, that's all I have for you for August. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. I am on both Instagram and Facebook if you want to see more regular astrological updates from me there. Plus, I do post some more, astrologer behind the astrology stuff as well. And definitely come back for your season next month. Okay, Libra, that's all from me. And now let's move on to Scorpio. Hi Scorpio, Sun, Moon and Risings. Welcome to your August horoscope. The total solar eclipse is going to be impacting you in a big way because it is going to be occurring in one of your angular houses. So make sure you stick around for that interpretation, which is about halfway through the reading. But first, now let's begin with Venus entering Libra. So on the 6th of August, Venus will enter Libra and be transiting your 12th house for the rest of the month. Now, Venus is at home in the sign of Libra. It loves to be in the sign of Libra. And I want you to make note of anything that comes up from about the 6th or the 7th of August onwards, because we're going to have a Venus retrograde in Scorpio and Libra. That's not until October, November. But if you pay attention to what happens this month, you'll get little clues and insights into what you're dealing with the Venus retrograde. So that's going to be huge for you in particular with Venus retrograde in your sign. Venus going through the 12th house can see you enjoying creative output, and it can see you really relaxing and enjoying time maybe abroad in a foreign country, or going more into things like yoga, meditation, spirituality, and really enjoying time. I keep saying enjoying, but Venus is a planet of like indulging and enjoying oneself. So wherever Venus transits, this is what we are basically indulging in and spending time doing. So Venus going through the 12th house, it's like creativity, spending time by oneself, going into more spiritual practices. And Venus going through the 12th house could also see there being some hidden flirtations or romantic situations arise that you're wanting to keep on the down low. So I do have to say though, with Venus going through the 12th house, that overdoing it in terms of forms of escapism can be coming up. So, that's just a note for anyone who has had experiences with addiction. That may be something that you're revisiting. So just be mindful of that if that is you. On the 9th of August or the 10th, depending where you live in the world, Mercury is going to enter the sign of Leo, and it's going to be transiting your 10th house for just over 2 weeks. Immediately, it will be squaring Chiron in Taurus in your 7th house. So this can bring up triggers that relate to your one-to-one relationships and communications and dealings with other people. So it can be like a conflictual, conversation or interaction with another person, or there can be a lot of, I like to call it aggressive overthinking about like your public reputation and your career and your high-level responsibilities. It's a super brief aspect, but it's worth mentioning. On the 11th of August, Mars, which is your ruling planet, is going to enter the sign of Cancer. So Mars will be transiting your 9th house for about the next 7 weeks. And so because Mars is your chart ruler, whichever house it transits, whatever sign it enters, this represents like a change in your energy, your direction, and your attention. Mars going through the 9th house means that it will be trining you, but also there's a big focus for you on your belief systems. And Mars here is more about cutting those away. Okay, so it can be like deprogramming certain beliefs, or being challenged in your beliefs, or challenging other people over their beliefs. And when I say beliefs, I mean, you name it. It can be like world politics, financial, philosophical beliefs, religion, spirituality, even like, how one should or shouldn't parent. It's like whatever you believe, this can be like triggering to other people, or you can be like triggered by what you're experiencing during this period of time. On a different note, it could indicate that you have like an appetite for adventure, whether this is travel or doing something adventurous, even if it doesn't involve travel. It also rules over higher education. So perhaps you are looking at expanding in terms of your education, like enrolling in a program. Sometimes Mars is like cutting something out. So maybe you are diverting from a certain path or walking away from a certain teaching like program, just as a potential. On a different level, the 9th house also rules over things like import and export, publishing, and your vision for your future. So maybe you're looking at import and export, or trying to get published, or just really taking action towards the greater vision that you have for your future, right? So on the 12th of August, we're going to have a total solar eclipse in Leo, which I'm going to put up on the screen. If you live in Australia like myself, then this will be in the early hours on the 13th of August. Nevertheless, eclipse energy is with us even now as I'm filming this. So like right at the end of July, we're very much in the throes of eclipse season. So this can see you experiencing like disturbed sleep patterns, feeling restless, feeling tired and wired, or just having like this sense of anticipation where it's like changes in the air or something's, like changes afoot kind of is is the name of the game with this. So having eclipses in the 10th house, the 4th house, the 1st house, the 7th house, it's always going to be more impactful, felt and seen than eclipses in any other house. So an eclipse in the 10th house is a big deal, especially if you're a Scorpio rising, and especially if you are if your midheaven is in Leo. I digress. It's at 20 degrees. So if you're a Scorpio rising sun or moon at 20 degrees, or even like 15 to 25 degrees, you're going to feel it more than the other Scorpios. And it's going to bring through something new, because a total solar eclipse is like a new chapter taking place, some like planting the seeds for something. But with eclipses, we don't really have that much, I want to say, autonomy. It's usually stuff that's like outside of our control, or it falls into our lap, or it can come through as like an intuitive download where you feel like the idea for something's planted in your mind. It almost feels like it doesn't come from you. Anyway, so the 10th house rules over career and your public reputation. It rules over your high-level responsibilities and the legacy that you're creating and that you want to leave behind. So this could be a new career opportunity, a promotion, a new boss, working for a new employer, presenting yourself differently when it comes to work. This can be plans for retirement, because the 10th house is about status in general. So it can be employment status and property ownership status, and we'll get there in a moment. Okay, so it can be like you want to leave the workforce, or if you were full-time, maybe it's like, now I'm looking at doing part-time or casual. For others of you, it could be that you are becoming a parent, whether that's happening around that time or you get news of it around this time. Okay, so coming back to status, right? Your property ownership status could change, whether that's buying or selling. Your marital status could be undergoing a change, or romantic status, like getting into a relationship or something like that. Even parental, right? So that can be like adoptive, foster, becoming a step parent. It's like whatever you can put on paper, whatever is being like officialized in some way. We see activations to the 10th house here. For others of you, it could be like citizenship, permanent residency, and so on and so forth. So Scorpio, I'd be very curious to hear how this plays out for you. Please feel free to drop a comment and just update myself and the rest of you guys. I know a lot of you like to read each other's comments on how this played out for you. Okay, so between the 12th and the 17th of August, Mercury in Leo in your 10th house is going to be doing just so much. It's opposing Pluto in Aquarius in your 4th house. It's trining Neptune. It's trining Saturn in Aries as well. It's sextiling Uranus in Gemini and sextiling Venus in Libra, and it will also even conjunct Jupiter. So in that sense, we then need to look at, well, what does Mercury rule over in your chart? For you, it's the 8th house, which is Gemini, in the 11th house, which is Virgo. So during this period of time, a lot can be coming up for you around mutual resources and finances, passive forms of income, your vision for your future, your wider network, your community. And for the most part, Mercury is making positive, harmonious aspects, which means that something positive can come through on these levels. All right, so be open to networking and collaborative opportunities, and maybe even combining your resources with another person in some way, shape or form. On the 17th of August, Mars, your chart ruler, will square Neptune. Okay, so Mars in Cancer in your 9th house is squaring Neptune in Aries in your 6th house at 3 degrees. So this can bring up tension, which relates to the day-to-day tedious humdrum work that you have to do, being at odds with your vision for your future and maybe your belief systems. Maybe there's like conflicts that are coming up that need to be quashed or taken care of somehow. It's kind of brief in nature, but still, because it's your chart ruler, you may feel it. Maybe you'll be feeling a little bit run down around this time. So I would just be extra mindful to pay attention to your health, in particular on the 17th of August, but even a couple days before and a couple days after. On the 23rd of August, Virgo season will begin. Then a few days later, on the 25th, Mercury will enter Virgo. So we'll have the Sun and Mercury transiting your 11th house, which means that, you know, this focus shifts from your 10th house to the 11th house. So now it's more about like your long-term plans for your future, community stuff, like your sense of belonging, community work, networking, and expanding your wider network further. And then Leo, finally for the month, we've got a partial lunar eclipse in Pisces in your 5th house at 4 degrees. So it is trining you. I've put the chart up on the screen. The Scorpios who will feel it the most would be those at 4 degrees plus or minus about 5. So, you know, 0 to 9 or even 10 degrees Scorpio, you'll be feeling it more so than the rest. So the 5th house is one of the most joyful, happy houses in astrology. So again, it's trining you, which is positive, but this is being offset by a tight T-square involving the moon, the Sun and Mercury in Virgo, and then that squaring Uranus in Gemini in your 8th house. Okay, so this can see you having an epiphany or there being a sudden, swift change which impacts your love, romance and dating life, children, your own business if you own your own business, or even like your natural gifts, talents. And so a few different ways that this can play out could be like an unexpected development in the life of one of your children, whether that's like they're going through, a change in terms of like their employment status if they're a bit older, or relationship status, or it can indicate that there's like tension that bubbles up between you and one of your children. Doesn't have to be. On a different note, this could be like an unexpected pregnancy. For some of you weren't planning it maybe. This could indicate that you are experiencing changes within your like romantic life. So whether this is to do with someone who's already in the picture, or you're like, do you know what? I'm going to put myself out there. Ultimately, this eclipse energy has like a very unpredictable, sudden, swift like energy to it due to the influence of Uranus here. Fortunately, Uranus is trining Pluto in Aquarius, and it's also sextiling Neptune in Aries. But I guess the bottom line here is that it's like there's an abrupt change in perspective, trajectory, direction that involves those 5th house elements. And for others of you, this can be to do with owning your own business, where it could be like you are having to launch something prematurely, or there's something that's like revealed about your business and you're like, oh, I didn't want, this being public knowledge, or having to do like a pivot on something to do with like a creative project, or again, your business if you do own your own business. I want to underline that this eclipse is trining you. Okay, so somehow there is like a blessing that is coming through. It could even be that other people around you are experiencing some kind of difficulty or hardship, or I dare say crisis, and you're able to assist them somehow, or even if something happens on more of like on a world level or global level, and you're able to potentially like capitalize on it. Not that I want to condone like profiteering off other people's misfortunes. I don't really mean it like that. I mean it more like you're able to help, you're able to assist, you're able to step in and be there for somebody, okay? And this is somehow connecting you to like a deeper truth, which is going to serve you well in the future. Okay, so Scorpio, that's all I have for you for your August horoscope. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. If you want to see more astrological updates and content from me, you can follow me on Instagram and or Facebook. And of course, if you want to book a private one-on-one reading, you can do so via kastrology.com. Links in the bio. Thanks, Scorpio. And now let's move on to Sagittarius. Hi Sagittarius, Sun, Moon and Risings. Welcome to your August horoscope. Your sign is going to be impacted by the Pisces eclipse right at the end of the month because that is occurring in your 4th house. But we'll get there once we get to the end of the horoscope. So make sure you stay tuned for the whole thing. On the 6th of August, Venus is going to enter Libra. We love this. Venus will be transiting your 11th house, which means you can enjoy time with friends. This will present networking opportunities, so you'll be able to expand your existing network further. This can see you potentially cashing in on dividends or receiving like a bonus or a lump sum of money because the 11th house rules over bonuses, passive forms of income, and so on and so forth. Definitely pay attention to what comes through with this Venus in Libra transit. So again, this is the 6th of August or the 7th if you live in Australia. And we're basically in the pre-shadow period for the Venus retrograde. We're going to have Venus retrograde across Scorpio and Libra in October and November. But what comes through from the 6th of August onwards is going to give you a preview and clues towards what you'll be unraveling or what will unfold within that Venus retrograde period. So for some of you, could be love or romance with a co-worker, colleague, friend of a friend. Not that that's the only way it can play out, but that's just what jumped into my mind immediately. Okay, so there's definitely scope for collaborating with others and even bringing investors on board. And this can be a very innovative time period for you as well, because the 11th house is all about invention and innovation. On the 9th of August, Mercury is going to enter the sign of Leo, which means it will be transiting your 9th house. Immediately straight off the bat, it is going to square Chiron in Taurus in your 6th house at 0 degrees. So that's a bit of a boom, boom, knock to the ego. But don't worry, Mercury is going to be making super positive transits thereafter. Aspects. So Mercury will be transiting your 9th house for just over 2 weeks, which means that there's a focus for you on travel, higher education, and your belief systems, and that will be reinforced by the eclipse in Leo, which we'll get to in a moment. On the 11th of August, Mars is going to enter Cancer. So Mars will be transiting your 8th house in Cancer for about 7 weeks. And Mars is really at home in the sign, really at home in the 8th house. It loves to be in the 8th house. It's very naturally attuned to that energy. So this can see you working hard to get to the truth of the matter, get to the bottom of things. This can see you overcoming fears, doubts, limitations, restrictions, even overcoming people who are working against you as well. Like Mars going through your 8th house is really going to see you digging up the dirt, especially if it involves hidden enemies. That's a really loaded term. The reason I mention it is because Mars rules over your 12th house, which in astrology, that's simply what it rules over. So this can see you also benefiting from healing modalities, psychology, working with a therapist, or maybe even a hypnotherapist. And also this can see you cutting ties with respect to mutual resources. So if you have like joint bank accounts or joint investments, or if you've been trying to kind of like sever your let's call it like financial commitment with another person, then this can see you doing that once and for all, which is really positive. Now, on the 12th of August or the 13th, if you're in Australia, there will be a total solar eclipse in Leo in your 9th house at 20 degrees. I've put this up on the screen for you. First things first, it's trining you. Yay for you, Sagittarius. That's super positive. This eclipse also involves Mercury, Jupiter, and the South Node all in Leo. Now, Jupiter is your chart ruler, so the fact that Jupiter is here and involved in the eclipse means that it draws you in. So this eclipse would impact you more so than it would if it didn't have Jupiter involved. Okay, the Sagittarians who will be the most impacted would be those at 20 degrees, but even plus or minus 5 degrees. So that means from about 15 degrees up to 25 degrees, you guys are being impacted here. A new moon total solar eclipse is going to see a new chapter starting in your life. Okay, so it's going to pertain to 9th house themes. 9th house in astrology rules over travel, higher education, teachers, mentors, gurus. It rules over your belief systems. It rules over spirituality and religion. It also rules over import and export, publishing, and your vision for your future, and even like your sense of divine order, or like, you know, how optimistic you are about, well, your life, or in general, we can say. So this can see you having a new opportunity that comes through regarding travel, higher education, or even legal matters as well. The 9th house does rule over the law. So again, this eclipse is positively aspecting you. And, you know, if you look closely, you can see that Mercury is actually sextiling Venus and Uranus at the same time, which is very positive. So this could indicate that there is an opportunity for you to go abroad. Maybe you're applying for an international passport, for citizenship, for permanent residency. Maybe this is a positive step in the right direction regarding a legal matter. On a different note, this can see you getting into import and export. Maybe this is expanding that portfolio further, or you could be foraying into it for the first time. This could indicate an opportunity for you to become a published author or get works published and circulated somehow. I do want to note that the South Node is involved here. The South Node is in Leo, and that means that whatever new chapter is coming through, it's already shown up in your life somehow. Maybe it was from years ago. Maybe it was from just months ago. Maybe this is like an old dream that you had where it's like, I've always wanted to get this book published, or I've always wanted to travel to this country. In some way, shape, or form, this eclipse, while it is bringing something new into your life, it is going to be packaging up something from before, something old, and, you know, introducing it into this new beginning. Okay, so I'd be extremely curious to hear, Sagittarius, how this plays out for you. So feel free to, drop a comment below, especially as we get closer to the 12th of August. And if I didn't mention it already, it could be you enrolling in like college, university, a higher education program, or maybe it's the opportunity for you to step into an elevated role of teacher or mentor somehow. Or there could be like a powerful teacher or mentor or guru coming into your life, into your world. The ninth house also rules over counseling and coaching. So it could be like getting acquainted with a coach or a counselor and receiving some really life-changing, profound wisdom. Between the 12th and the 17th of August, so that obviously has the eclipse sitting right in the middle, we've got Mercury in Leo doing the most. It's opposing Pluto, it's trining Neptune in Aries, it's sextiling Uranus and Venus, which we already looked at. Then it'll conjunct Jupiter in Leo, and finally it'll trine Saturn in Aries. So what this means is it's important to look at which houses in your chart are ruled by Mercury. For you, it is the 7th house and the 10th house. So this indicates help, opportunities, forward momentum, and new developments coming through that relate either to career, status, someone in a high level position who's able to help you, and or someone that you're looking to engage the services of, or it could be someone who's in like a one-to-one relationship with you. All right, so it can be like help or new opportunities that impact your relationship, whether that's with a client, a business partner, your romantic partner, something to do with your employment agreement, contracts, your employer, your career, your public reputation, or maybe even something to do with the law. All right, so on the 17th of August, Mars in Cancer in your 8th house is going to square Neptune in Aries in your 5th house at 3 degrees. Short in essence, but still around the 17th of August, plus or minus 1 to 2 days, there could be some challenging situations that come up that relate to security, privacy, mutual resources, like think joint bank accounts, joint investments, the agreements that you have with other people, and also, what brings you joy, what brings you happiness, or even like you're getting like this ego wound coming up, or like a knock to your confidence or sense of self or sense of pride. So that's just something to be mindful of. On the 23rd of August, Virgo season will begin. On the 25th of August, Mercury is going to enter Virgo. Okay, so Mercury, good God. Mercury is in domicile and exalted in Virgo, which means it's favorite sign to be in. Mercury performs the best in Virgo. So to have the Sun and Mercury transiting your 10th house indicates that there's now this big focus on your career, on your public reputation, on maybe how you're coming across at work or to your employer, or even to the public at large. On the 28th of August, and this is the last thing we're going to look at for the month, we've got a partial lunar eclipse in Pisces in your 4th house at 4 degrees. I've put it up on the chart for you. So this particular eclipse is making some super tight aspects. It's opposing Mercury in Virgo in your 10th house, and that in turn is squaring Uranus in Gemini in your 7th house. So the moon and then the sun and Mercury are making a super tight T-square to Uranus in the 7th. And so first of all, the Sagittarians who are going to be the most impacted will be those first of all, those at 4 degrees and 5 degrees for sure, but even 0 up to about 10 degrees. You guys are going to feel it more so than other Sagittarians. In any case, a lunar eclipse, a full moon eclipse in the 4th house, is all about something reaching a culmination point, or you can think of it like an astrological climax or exclamation point. So something is being unraveled, determined, decided about your property and living situation or your family life. So this could relate to security. This could relate to anything that is dear to you that you want to protect. So an eclipse in the 4th house could indicate a change in terms of your property and living situation or family dynamics. It can be like the revelation of something to do with your parents or your upbringing, or maybe even like your ancestry and lineage. It could be you becoming a parent, becoming a grandparent, maybe finding out that you're pregnant or finding out that you're going to become a parent. I think I said that already. So a full moon eclipse in the 4th house could indicate that there's like an abrupt, I want to say emotional upheaval, especially because of this super tight square to Uranus in Gemini in the 7th house. So it could be as a result of a decision that someone else makes. It could be someone that you are in a form of partnership with, whether that's romantic, platonic, friendship, business, or whatever. Or it could be like an unexpected opportunity that comes through. You know, maybe this is to like sign a contract. It's 4:44 in the afternoon right now, just as I said that, and that caught my attention. So it could even be like an opportunity comes through for your spouse or for your significant other, and it's like, okay, as a result, that's going to shift things in terms of the family dynamics at home. It could be like an unexpected departure or exit of someone like moving out or even moving back in. So it can be like a family member coming back in, a friend coming to stay. It could be like your flatmate moving out, someone moving out of your home. Okay, so I think I've, laid down enough examples of how that could play out. If it's not occurring on like a super material level, then it could be more so to do with your own like sense of emotional stability. It is an emotionally destabilizing energy. I do have to put that out there. But you've got a lot supporting you in the way of like Neptune trining you and Saturn trining you, and Jupiter and Leo trining you as well. So, that's definitely going to be protecting you and blessing you, Sagittarius. So that's all I have for you for your reading. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up. If you want to see more content on the channel, please hit the subscribe button. I'm available for private one-on-one readings, and I'm also on Instagram and Facebook if you want to see more regular updates and behind the scenes stuff from me there. Now let's move on to Capricorn. Hi Capricorn, Sun, Moon and Risings. Welcome to your August 2026 horoscope. Let's get straight into it. Happy eclipse season. Eclipse season begins about 4 weeks out from our first eclipse. So we've got our first eclipse on the 12th of August and then our second one on the 28th of August. So as we build towards that time, you may feel kind of tired and wired, a bit fatigued. Maybe you are experiencing a sense of restlessness or like anticipation in the air and that kind of thing. As far as transits are concerned, we've got Venus entering Libra on the 6th of August or the 7th of August if you live in Australia. So Venus transiting your 10th house is very, very welcome, because Venus is at home in the sign of Libra. And so Venus transiting the 10th house can see you coming across more charming, more magnetic, more appealing, things that you launch or that you put out there, or even like, certain appeals that you make to your boss or people in positions of leadership can be received more favorably. Definitely pay attention to what comes up once Venus enters Libra. The reason why it's important is because we're going to have a Venus retrograde cycle across Scorpio and Libra, which is taking place in October and November. Okay, so it's important to take note of what's happening from the 6th of August onwards, because that gives you clues, that gives you a preview as to what will unfold in that time. Venus retrograde going back and forth in your 10th house for sure is going to hit on the level of public reputation, legacy, how you're perceived, work, promotions, and anything related to putting yourself out there in your high level responsibilities. Moving along though, on the 9th of August, Mercury is going to enter Leo. It's going to be transiting your 8th house for the next 2 and a bit weeks. On the whole, it's super positive because Mercury is going to be making so many harmonious, beneficial aspects. But first things first, it will square Chiron in Taurus in your 5th house at 0 degrees. So that's a little bit uncomfortable because this can kind of have like a glass half empty impact on us. So just note that around the 9th or the 10th of August, if you're starting to feel like pessimistic or doubtful, this is probably going to pass after, 24 to 48 hours. On the 11th of August, Mars is going to enter the sign of Cancer. Mars is going to be transiting Cancer in your 7th house for about 7 weeks. So Mars going through the 7th house can be uncomfortable because we can really start butting heads with our significant other, with our business partner, with anyone that we're in like a one-to-one relationship with. What is it good for though? It's good for starting a new challenge with your significant other. Maybe that's like a health kick. Maybe that's running together, doing things in pairs, chess, tennis, table tennis, that is the best way to channel that energy and like get it out of your system. So I'll park that with you. Mars going through your 7th house can see you working really hard in a one-on-one capacity. So maybe this is with a coach, maybe this is with a tutor, maybe this is with a mentor. Whoever comes into your life with during this transit, so again, the 11th of August for about the next 7 weeks, they're going to be a hard ass. All right. Or maybe they're just like an Aries or a Scorpio, given that they're ruled by Mars. But this is a time to push back in negotiations. You can really negotiate hard and you can advocate for yourself. You can advocate for others with this transit and get deals over the line. If you want to break a contract, if you want to sever a clause or ties, and this is an ideal transit for that. Now, on the 12th of August, there will be a total solar eclipse in Leo in your 8th house. It's up on the screen. It's occurring at 28 degrees. This eclipse is just involving so much Leo activity. We've got Mercury, Jupiter, the Sun, the Moon, and the South Node all in Leo. So I have to say this is a time, Capricorn, where you're digging deep. This is like overcoming fears, overcoming insecurities, being really honest with yourself, getting to the truth, getting to the bottom of the matter, okay? Because the 8th house, a total solar eclipse in the 8th house is going to bring truths to light. But eclipses are all about a new chapter taking place, and the 8th house is like mutual resources. So this can be a new chapter or development, which is very significant, that involves joint bank accounts, joint investments, child support, alimony, spousal support money. Maybe this is like, getting insurance, applying for an insurance payout. Could be something to do with taxes, drawing up a will, or it could be like the executor of a will, like discussing inheritances and things on that level. The 8th house also rules over intimacy and sex. So a new intimate or sexual relationship may begin around the time of this eclipse. The 8th house also rules over the occult, esoteric studies and practices, and even like alternative healing modalities. An eclipse in the 8th house can see there being a sudden, unexpected change of circumstances. I'm being a bit vague here intentionally because the 8th house is like the house of reversals. So an eclipse in the 8th house could bring through surprises, shocks, and I don't want to cast this in a bad light because look, Mercury and Jupiter, Mercury in particular, is sextiling Uranus and it's sextiling Venus exactly. So it does appear that there's like an opportunity that is coming through with this total solar eclipse, especially because it is also trining Saturn in Aries, and also, you know, in a wide trine to Neptune. And ultimately Capricorn, whatever new beginning is coming through, I don't think it'll be that surprising for you. The reason is the South Node is in Leo. The South Node rules over the past. So that means whatever eclipse event is occurring or new chapter is occurring, it's like you're already aware of it to an extent. This was already in your periphery. You were already thinking about this thing or contemplating it, or maybe, obviously I've said, you know, there's something unexpected coming through, but it's almost like you're surprised, but not that surprised, if that makes sense. But for sure, this could be a very potent and auspicious time to look at your mutual resources, joint assets and investments and that kind of thing. Between the 12th and the 17th of August, Mercury in Leo is going to oppose Pluto. It's going to trine Neptune, sextile Uranus, sextile Venus. It's going to conjunct Jupiter and trine Saturn, which is your chart ruler. So that means that the houses that Mercury rules are going to be heavily activated. For you, that would be your 5th house, which is Virgo. No, sorry. Your 9th house, which is Virgo, I beg your pardon, as well as your 6th house, which is Gemini. So there can be a lot of movement that comes through around your day-to-day work habits, routines, day-to-day work tasks, employees, loans, debts, pets, health, nutrition, in like a positive way, okay? Because Mercury is making so many harmonious aspects. And then the 9th house rules over like education, travel, legal matters, and like your vision for your future. So I really think there's going to be movement on one or more of these levels in a positive direction. On the 17th of August, Mars in your 7th house is going to square Neptune in Aries in your 4th house at 3 degrees. So this can bring up tension or discord within your family unit, or it could be like a housemate or someone that you live with. It could be your significant other. It could be like disagreements over your property and your living situation and like domestic tasks and that kind of thing. So don't be surprised if there is like an emotional meltdown or outburst, even if it doesn't involve you. I know Capricorns usually stay pretty composed. But again, that's the 17th of August, plus or minus a couple of days. On the 23rd of August, Virgo season will begin. Then on the 25th, Mercury will enter Virgo. So now we've got the Sun and Mercury transiting your 9th house. So there's a focus on your vision for your future, spirituality, maybe religion, maybe connecting with a teacher, mentor, guru, coach, counselor in a positive way. And then lastly for the month, Capricorn, we've got a partial lunar eclipse in Pisces in your 3rd house at 4 degrees. I've put it up on the screen so that you can take a look. Full moon lunar eclipses are about reaching a culmination point, an astrological climax, if you will. And so this can see you maybe concluding a project, maybe receiving a qualification or a skill, like developing a skill. I do have to say that this eclipse is, first of all, sextiling you, which is positive, but it is also making really hard aspects, Capricorn. It is opposing Mercury in Virgo, and we've got the moon in Pisces and then Sun and Mercury in Virgo making a tight square to Uranus in Gemini in your 6th house. And so that's a T-square in astrology. All right. So there could be like a letter, a correspondence, communication, or a conversation that you have which is quite unexpected in nature. Maybe there is something in the way of like a notification, something that you have to deal with. It could be of a legal nature. It could involve like education, like your education, I don't know, degree or enrollment. On a different note though, this could be like actually breaking free out of a conflictual situation, because we've got Jupiter trining Saturn here as well. That trine won't be exact until like the very beginning of September, but in any case, I think that there's going to be something like unexpected that comes through with this eclipse that does involve correspondence or communications with other people or something to do with education. But I'm getting from this that there's like a way out somehow, especially because Pluto is also sextiling Neptune. So just be mindful that if you work in a team, if you work in education, if you have an online business, or if you've got like clients and co-workers that you deal with or connect with, that there could be something unexpected that arises that you have to contend with. But as you glide on out of August, Saturn, which is your chart ruler, is going to be trining Jupiter. So I think that that's a very auspicious sign that you're being protected or buffeted somehow from something that could otherwise go awry. Okay, Capricorn, that's all I have for you for your reading. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook if you want to see more regular astrological updates and posts from me there. Finally, Capricorn, if you're interested in a private one-on-one reading, you can book via castrology.com. The link's in the description. And basically, it's just like this, but one-on-one over Zoom. Now, let's move on to Aquarius. Hi Aquarius, Sun, Moon and Risings. Your sign is one of the signs that will be very impacted by the Leo eclipse happening around the middle of the month. So make sure you stick around for the whole reading, but first let's talk about eclipse season and then the transits that will be following. So eclipse season can see you experiencing disturbed sleep patterns, being kind of like tired, but also feeling like you can't get a good night's sleep potentially. I don't want to project that onto you. Maybe that won't be your experience, but in any case, it's a potential. And also, you may be feeling restless. There could be like a sense of anticipation, like changes in the air. And this eclipse, the first eclipse, is going to be in your 7th house. So even as you start the month off, there could just be a lot coming through in your one-to-one relationships and correspondences. On the 6th of August, or the 7th if you live in Australia, Venus is going to enter the sign of Libra. This is amazing because Venus rules over Libra. Venus is at home in the sign of Libra, and basically Venus will be transiting your 9th house and then trining you. We love to see Venus trining us, right? So there's an enjoyment of teaching, learning, higher education, exploring other cultures, maybe an opportunity to travel, possibly learning about philosophy or just something creative in nature, okay? Because wherever Venus goes, we're enjoying that house, we're enjoying that sign. And so Venus going through the 9th house is like that love of learning and that spark of curiosity. For some of you, it could even be like love abroad or love with like a foreigner. For others of you, Venus going through the 9th house could indicate that there's a focus on import and export, publishing, and, you know, do pay attention to what comes up once this transit begins, because we're kind of in like the pre-shadow period for the Venus retrograde that's going to be coming through in October and November. So we've got Venus retrograde in Scorpio moving back into Libra from early October through till mid-November, I beg your pardon. And so we're really getting like the preview for that now with this transit. On the 9th of August, Mercury is going to enter the sign of Leo. So Mercury is going to be transiting your 7th house for just over 2 weeks. For the most part, Mercury is going to be making lovely, harmonious aspects. Yay. However, right off the bat, Mercury in Leo in your 7th house will square Chiron in Taurus in your 4th house at 0 degrees, like immediately as soon as this transit begins. So that can bring up tension with respect to you and a flatmate, you and a family member, you and maybe like, you know, your parents, or it can be like discord within the home, even if you're not really like involved in the conversations that are happening. Or it can even be you feeling kind of triggered about your childhood, your upbringing, family matters, or just like a core, again, I call it wound because, you know, it is Chiron, but it's like a core insecurity or something that really needs to be addressed. On the 11th of August, Mars will enter the sign of Cancer. So Mars will be transiting your 6th house for about 7 weeks. Now, Mars performs really well in the 6th house. In fact, this is its house of joy. So this can see you smashing out your life admin tasks, getting through like tedious to-do lists. This can see you really committing to like an exercise program or health, nutrition, overcoming quote unquote bad habits, vices, you know, and also integrating new habits. So you can be working out really hard with this particular transit. And certainly overcoming conflicts is a positive manifestation. Now, there are some downsides, right? So maybe there's disagreements about loans and debts that are owed. You may decide that you need to let go of an employee or maybe even multiple employees. Or it could, if you're not letting someone go, it could be that you're kind of like butting heads with an employee, if not, you know, one or more. And I will say being proactive with your pets is going to be beneficial here. So just taking them to the vet, getting a routine checkup. I also need to say that this is a transit where your pets may be more kind of aggressive. Okay, so that in a worst case scenario, that could be like your dog biting you or your cat biting you or scratching you or whatever, or even someone else. But just be super careful. Like Mars in Cancer is kind of notorious for there being issues with dogs, just because Cancer rules over dogs. But again, Mars is very happy in the 6th house. This is its house of joy. So that's just like, you know, a mid-level, I don't want to say mid-level, just like a warning, just to be more cautious, right? Like I don't have kids, right? But, you know, if there was ever a time to like not have a dog or your dog near like your baby's face or whatever, it's this transit, please. So on the 12th of August, we're going to have big ticket item, the total solar eclipse in Leo. So this will be occurring in your 7th house. I've put the chart up on the screen. It's worth having a look. If you're driving, keep your eyes on the road. In any case, look how much is going on in Leo. We've got Mercury here, Jupiter, the Sun, the Moon, and the South Node. The 7th house is all about sales, negotiations, contracts, agreements, and your one-to-one relationships with other people. So a total solar eclipse here could see you going into business with another person, launching a new service, launching a new product, signing an important contract, putting a proposal or an agreement in front of another person, or maybe that's coming, you know, into your lap somehow. This can look like an engagement, getting married, talking about your future with your significant other, or taking, let's just say that, you know, maybe you're dating, right? But then the total solar eclipse in the 7th house could be that you're actually like getting into an exclusive relationship with that person. So because this total solar eclipse involves the south node and the south node rules over the past, to me, this eclipse is like not brand new energy. It's just like a powerful new beginning, but somehow it involves something from the past, whether that's someone who's already in your life, you've already met them, you've already thought about this thing or discussed this thing. It like shouldn't be a full-on surprise to you, whatever event is coming through with this eclipse. The Aquarians who will be the most impacted will be those at 20 degrees. Plus or minus 5 degrees. Okay, so if you're like 15 degrees to 25 degrees and that's going to impact you, I've said this before and I'll say it again. If you have the time, please go ahead and watch your big 3 horoscopes, your rising, your sun, and your moon. Definitely your rising, right? If you're here as an Aquarius sun or moon and you haven't seen your rising sign yet, the next horoscope you should watch would be the ascendant or the rising sign horoscope. So for those of you who are in a relationship with another person, a total solar eclipse in the 7th house could actually look like a big life development happening in their life, even if it's not fully impacting you personally. So maybe they're getting a new job, maybe they're getting pregnant, maybe they are, enrolling in an education program, or there's like a travel opportunity that comes up for them. I do have to say that because this eclipse is opposing you, this could indicate that you are getting pregnant. So it could be you, could be your partner. And yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of things that I've just mapped out here, but even buying, selling, or relocating could be on the cards, especially if you're an Aquarius rising or an Aquarius moon. But again, just take what resonates, leave what doesn't. I'm very curious to hear from you, Aquarius, how these eclipse energies and events are playing out for you. So feel free to drop me a comment below, in the comment box, I mean to say. And I repeat, eclipse events can occur like 2 to 4 weeks before the eclipse or 2 to 4 weeks after the eclipse. So even from now, as I'm filming this on the 31st of July, there may be stuff that's, already coming through for you. Between the 12th and the 17th of August, Mercury in Leo is going to make a bunch of aspects. It's going to oppose Pluto in Aquarius in your first house at 3 degrees. It's going to trine Neptune in Aries and Saturn in Aries. It's going to sextile Uranus in Gemini, and it's also going to sextile Venus in Libra and conjunct Jupiter. So you don't need to remember all of that. All you need to know is that the houses that Mercury rules for you will be very activated by all of those aspects. So for you, that's the 5th house and the 8th house. So there could be a lot that comes up for you around this time as it relates to creativity, your own business, whether that's your existing business or starting a new business, children, love, romance, sex, dating, your natural gifts and talents. And then, the 8th house significations here are your mutual resources, like joint bank accounts, joint investments, the money that you make to other people, whether that's them paying you, you paying them, or even stuff to do with like inheritances, tax, insurance, and what have you. So there could be a lot of movement across those fronts, plus getting more into anything to do with astrology, the occult, esoteric studies, healing, therapy, and so on and so forth. On the 17th of August, Mars in Cancer in your 6th house is going to square Neptune in Aries in your 3rd house at 3 degrees. So super brief. However, this can bring through like discord, conflict, or like a very difficult conversation that involves co-workers, clients, employees. Just one moment. Just had a tickle in my throat. So difficult conversations involving siblings, extended relatives, co-workers, clients, employees, or like difficult emails coming through or things that you have to respond to. All right, or perhaps like your plans for the day, projects, deadlines, and maybe, being unraveled a little bit. On the 23rd of August, Virgo season will begin. on the 25th of August, Mercury will enter Virgo. So now we've got the Sun and Mercury both transiting your 8th house. Mercury loves to be in the sign of Virgo. So this is really positive for getting to the bottom of things, getting to the truth of the matter, and even like introspection, self-reflection, and so on and so forth. Lastly, for the month Aquarius, we've got a partial lunar eclipse in Pisces in your 2nd house at 4 degrees. So this particular eclipse is making some super hard aspects. It is going to be, well, the moon in Pisces is opposing Mercury in Virgo. And so we've got moon in Pisces and then Sun and Mercury in Virgo making a tight square to Uranus in Gemini. All right, so this is what we call a T-square in astrology. For you, this eclipse in your 2nd house indicates something notable coming through as it relates to your finances, resources, and expenses. So it could be a really big expense that comes through quite unexpectedly, something you want to invest in. It could be you having to cut something out that is like a stream of income for you potentially. So the reason I'm saying this is because the aspect to Uranus is indicative of something very unpredictable coming through, something where it's just like a swift ending or a severing of ties, or it's like you have to respond really quickly and there's kind of like no time to think or no time to, I guess, consider all the options because it's like time is of the essence. So fortunately for you, we've got Pluto in your 1st house sextiling Neptune in Aries, and then we've also got Saturn, which is one of your chart rulers, trining Jupiter in Leo. So despite the tense energy of this eclipse, it does appear there does appear to be some sort of like positive trade-off, and I think that the 3rd house and the 7th house activation for Saturn and Jupiter indicates that there's support from other people. Okay, so that can be like a business partner, your significant other, clients, co-workers, friends, or even siblings. Okay, so Aquarius, that's all I have for you for your August horoscope. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm on Instagram and Facebook if you want to see more regular astro content from me there. And of course, if you want to book a private one-on-one reading, you can do so via kastrology.com. The link's in the description. Take care, Aquarius, and now let's move on to Pisces. Hi Pisces, Sun, Moon and Risings, welcome to your August horoscope. Your sign is one of the most impacted for this month because right at the end of the month, we've got a lunar eclipse in Pisces. So make sure you stick around till the end of the reading because that's when I will be discussing it. I always like to go in order of the events of the month. So with this eclipse energy being at play, we can experience this as disturbed sleep patterns, feeling more tired than normal. Tired and wired is a term I hear other astrologers using, which I'm going to start using myself. And so, feeling fatigued or lower energy levels, feeling restless, that can all be coming through for you around, well, pretty much from now when you're watching this horoscope, because we've also got another eclipse on the 12th of August in Leo. So you do have to take good care of your nervous system, ground, meditate, hydrate, and, even spending time in nature and reducing screen time can help with those feelings of like restlessness. On the 6th of August though, we've got Venus entering the sign of Libra. Venus is going to be transiting your 8th house for, well, the whole rest of the month actually. And first of all, Venus naturally rules over the sign of Libra. So Venus loves to be in Libra. It's very at home here in this sign. And Venus going through your 8th house is going to see you wanting to connect more deeply with other people. The 8th house is all about intimacy, getting to the bottom of things, the truth of the matter. But Venus is very much to do with like what we indulge in, our relationships, love, and even finances and resources. So there can be a boost to your mutual resources with other people. If you're in a relationship, maybe your significant other is going to see an increase in their income, or you can make money with other people, like being in business together or like collaborating with others. Venus going into the 8th house can see there being some revelations that come through about your love life, your romantic life, your sex life. Okay, it's like a very deep, penetrating house. So Venus here in the 8th house wants to discuss deep and meaningful things. It's not a superficial transit. And the 8th house also rules over things like taxes, inheritances, insurance policies. Joint bank accounts, joint investments. So these things could be coming up for you. More so than other times, I would ask you to pay attention to what is coming through with this Venus in Libra transit. The reason being that we're going to have a Venus retrograde occur in Scorpio and then back into Libra. So that'll be in October and November. But you'll get little nuggets, little clues with this Venus in Libra transit starting on the 6th of August as to what will unfold in that retrograde period. Now, on the 9th of August, or the 10th if you live in Australia like myself, Mercury is going to enter the sign of Leo. So Mercury is going to be transiting your 6th house. Now, Mercury is going to make a number of positive, harmonious aspects, which is amazing. But straight off the bat, it is making a hard aspect to Chiron in Taurus in your 3rd house. Just bear with me for one moment. Yes, that's right. 6th house and 3rd house at 0 degrees, no less. So this can see there being a heavy or difficult conversation that you have maybe with like a co-worker, a client, or a friend, maybe even a sibling or an extended relative, but it's like a conversation that needs to be had. However, this can bring up some core wounds about speaking a truth, communications, like being listened to, or if there's like discord that inherently exists in that relationship, then it may be something that kind of flares up around this time. On the 11th of August, Mars is going to enter the sign of Cancer. So Mars will be transiting your 5th house for about the next 7 weeks, and it will be trining you, which is very positive. So whichever house Mars transits, we put a lot of energy into that house, but we can also experience conflict in that house or challenge. Again, I say, fortunately, Mars is transiting you, but Mars going through the 5th house can play out in a few different ways. So it can be putting energy and effort towards your creative projects, creative output, maybe your business, if you own your own business, or you're looking at starting your own business. If you have children, then this can indicate butting heads with them, or maybe they're just kind of like arcing up and being more rebellious in nature. It doesn't even need to be your own children. It can be nieces, it can be nephews, it can be your friends' kids, or if you're a teacher and you're a Pisces, and I think you'll really notice that like something's getting into the kids from the 11th of August onwards for the next about roughly 7 weeks. So Mars going through the 5th house can see you putting yourself out there in terms of love, dating, and romance. So it's actually a positive time to put yourself out there if that's something that appeals to you. Mars going through the 5th house can actually like spice things up in your love life, in your romantic life, and even in your sex life as well. So just keep these things in mind for this transit. On the 12th of August, or the 13th of August if you live in Australia, we've got a total solar eclipse in Leo in your 6th house. I've just put it up on the chart so you can take a look. So we've also got a lot happening in Leo as it is. We've got Mercury here, Jupiter, the Sun, the Moon, and the South Node. Now, Jupiter is your planetary ruler. It is your chart ruler because Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. So that automatically just like pulls you into the mix of this particular eclipse. Now, a total solar eclipse is going to be the catalyst for a new chapter starting in our lives, a new beginning. It's like something playing out that relates to the 6th house. So for you guys, it could be a new job, new work, a new employee or multiple employees. This could be getting a pet. So adopting, fostering, or, a pet just somehow comes into your life. This could be applying for a loan. This could indicate you taking a more involved approach to the betterment of your health. So maybe like a new exercise program, nutrition, health, okay? The 6th house also rules over your daily habits and routines. So it could be like the integration of a new habit or a new routine into your life. So what I can say here is that because the South Node is involved with this eclipse, that means that we're bringing something from the past into the mix because the South Node rules over the past. So even though it's a new chapter that's coming through, given that it's a total new moon eclipse or total solar eclipse, the South Node is like, okay, but you have awareness of this thing. You were calling it in, you'd been working towards this, or you were trying to manifest it, or you wanted this thing, or it could be like returning to like, not the same job, but it's maybe like the same line of work, or someone you used to work with, you're now employing them. Or maybe like you had a dog many years ago when you were growing up, and now 30 years later you're like, hey, I'm gonna get a dog, or adopt a pet or whatever. So somehow there is like a connection to the past, but it is packaged up in a totally new beginning. And you can see that we've got Mercury and to an extent Jupiter as well, sextiling Venus and sextiling Uranus, and like even the eclipse is trining Saturn in Aries and Neptune in Aries. So for sure there's a lot of harmonious aspects that go alongside this eclipse, even though there's an opposition to Pluto. The opposition to Pluto here is coming through as a need to really transform as it relates to 12th house matters. So it's like overcoming self-sabotaging beliefs, addressing potentially like a savior victim complex, accepting support from others or generosity from others, and really rewriting or reframing your life, your story, how you see yourself, how you speak over your life in terms of health and expectations and all of that kind of thing. So Pisces, between the 12th and the 17th of August, we're going to have Mercury and Leo in your 6th house opposing Pluto and Aquarius, trining Neptune in Aries. As we said, sextiling Uranus and Venus. It'll conjunct Jupiter, and it will also trine Saturn in Aries, which was also discussed. So the 12th to the 17th of August is a very charged time as it relates to not just your 6th house, but also what the 4th house rules over for you, which is important because the 4th house is family, home, property, and security. The 7th house is like your significant other or anyone you're in a one-to-one relationship with. So there could be, surprisingly, in terms of like, you're probably not hearing this in other astrology readings, a lot that actually comes up about family, your property situation, where you're living, your housemates, your flatmates, your ancestry, your lineage, your parents, your upbringing. And then on the other side of that is like your one-to-one relationships. How do you negotiate them? Who are you friends with? Who do you have difficult conversations with? Who do you want to be closer friends with or have a closer relationship with? Or it's like a question mark around equality, fairness, negotiation, and true like equilibrium and let's just say partnership right? Like a good solid partnership where it actually feels like things are on equal footing. So I think there's a lot that's going to be coming up for you around those themes. On the 17th of August, Mars in Cancer in your 5th house is going to square Neptune in Aries in your 2nd house at 3 degrees. Neptune is one of your chart rulers, but it's, you know, I set a lot more store by Jupiter than Neptune. In any case, though, this can indicate that there's a bit of a clash coming through around expenses, finances, resources, and income, and then like how much you're indulging in things, whether that's like entertainment, going on vacations, or investing in yourself, or creative hobbies, projects. And, you know, it could even be like a question mark around self-esteem, confidence, dating, and like self-care, where you're realizing that you're going to need to make some changes to see the change that you want. I love that phrase where it's like nothing changes if nothing changes. So it's like on whatever level you feel unhappy, discontent, you're not getting what you want, you're not seeing the results that you want, which is very much like the 5th house. It's like, okay, well, what can I do about it? Instead of, you know, complaining about it, I need to like take a stand and make some changes here. On the 23rd of August, Virgo season is going to begin. Then on the 25th of August, Mercury is going to enter the sign of Virgo. So Mercury is at home in the sign of Virgo. It's exalted here. Mercury is like never stronger than when it is in Virgo. So now there really does start to be this like definitive shift to focusing on those one-to-one relationships, contracts, negotiations, like what am I agreeing to? What did you say you would do? And just figuring out like the nuts and bolts of those one-to-one connections. And then on the 28th of August, we've got, drumroll, the Pisces lunar eclipse. Okay, so this is a partial lunar eclipse in Pisces in your 1st house at 4 degrees. Whether you're a Pisces rising sun or moon, you will feel it, right? But the Pisceans who will feel it the most will be those at 4 degrees Pisces, even 5 degrees. And, you know, if we buffer that out, 0 to 10 degrees. Okay, so 4 degrees and 5 degrees would be the most impacted though. So let's unpack this. I do have the eclipse up on the screen for you to peruse. We've got a lot of hard aspects occurring. This full moon is going eclipse, I dare say, is going to oppose Mercury in Virgo. And so the moon in Pisces and then Mercury and the sun in Virgo will make a super tight T-square to Uranus in Gemini in your 4th house. So very strong activations to the 1st, 7th, and the 4th houses. A lunar eclipse, also known as a full moon eclipse, is going to play out on the level of illumination, revelation, almost like an astrological climax or exclamation point. So it's a situation that's already been in motion, it's already been cooking, it's already been in flux, and now we're seeing like a hard and fast development here. Okay, so whether this is from months ago or even years ago, a full moon eclipse in your 1st house is like impacting you on such a personal level. So this can be clarity around what you want to do in life, your path, your trajectory, what you want to do for work, whether that's like leaving the workforce, re-entering it, starting a business, or it can be to do with relationships. This can be getting into a relationship, coming out of a relationship. It could be getting pregnant, or, you know, if you are pregnant, maybe giving birth around this time, or finding out that you're going to become a parent or even a grandparent, because the moon is at 4 degrees and 4 degrees is the Cancer degree, which relates to property and real estate. So it can be buying, can be selling, it can be relocating. I know I'm throwing a lot of things out at you. Let me put an umbrella term for it. Eclipses in your sign are going to be the catalyst for big life events. In Kaylin's books, a big life event relates to relationships, contracts, living situation, family, and career. Okay, obviously there are other things in there as well, but you know, those are like 5 key points. So it can be like a very notable development across one of those fronts, or maybe even several. What's the energy of this eclipse like though? Well, with the square to Uranus in Gemini in your 4th house, it's unpredictable, it's unexpected, it's a curveball. Yes, it's a situation that you were already aware of, or maybe you'd already thought it could go in such and such a direction, but the square to Uranus is like, okay, but what is this timing? I wasn't expecting this. This is happening earlier than what I thought, or not in the way, or like in the order that I would have wanted things to happen in. And so, yeah, there's like an abruptness to this eclipse. But, you know, on a positive note, you can see here that Jupiter, which is your chart ruler, is trining Saturn. And we've also got Neptune sextiling Pluto. So Jupiter trining Saturn, which, by the way, about 3 or 4 days after this eclipse, it's going to be exact, is protecting you somehow. It is indicative of there being like support, stability, like there's some kind of foundation in place which is going to help you or benefit you in some way, shape, or form. It does have to be said that an eclipse in your sign at the Cancer degree can even be like an emotional epiphany or a realization. It can be like a big emotional release, and it can also play out on the level of impacting health as well. So around this time, it is advised that you take it easy, don't overdo things, because you may feel more like run down around this time. Not that I want to end it on that note necessarily, but you know, on the whole, I would say that this eclipse is going to bring through clarity. It's going to illuminate situations one or more situations very clearly for you, to the point where you will know definitively, yes, I want to go in this direction, or no, I don't want to go in that direction anymore. So it's kind of like a realignment to the path that is for your best and highest good. And so Pisces, that's all I have for you for your August horoscope. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm on Instagram and Facebook if you want to see more regular astrological updates there. And I am available for private one-on-one readings too. So enjoy your month ahead, Pisces. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.